Good morning. I'm calling to order the Annapolis County Committee of the Whole on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. And we begin with a roll call with District 1, please.
Bruce Pro. District 2, Brian Fuzzy-Connell.
District 4, Mike Burton.
District 5, Lynn Monway.
District 6, Alec Morrison.
District 7, David Hudson.
District 8, Michael Gunn.
District 9, Wendy Sheridan.
District 10, Brad Rick.
District 2, Diane Woodward.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest? We'll move on to approval of the order of the day. Could I have a motion to approve the order of the day, please? Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Gunn.
I have an addition to the agenda.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I guess it would be under new business 7.2, a letter to a Department of Infrastructure and Renewal.
Any other? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried. And a motion for the approval of the minutes, please, of the November 8th meeting. So moved. Deputy Warden. Seconder, Councilor Longmire. Discussion? All in favor? Against? Motion carried. We will now move on to staff reports. You will notice that item 5 is staff reports, and item 6 is recommendations. And you will notice further down in item 5 that the term information report is used. That's to indicate that until council decides otherwise, there is no action to be taken on those items at this meeting. So we will move to 5.1, please. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council approve a grant in the amount of $5,000 to the Port Royal Lighthouse Association to assist with their excessive stage, phase 1, for major repairs and restoration of the Shackler Front Port Royal Lighthouse from the Capital Projects Assistance Program, small projects matching out in accordance with AN-1.4.9 community grants policy.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Longmire. Discussion. Councilor Cotw.
I thought there was an amount that was already in that policy that the White House has got.
I would need, if possible, if Ms. Campbell happens to know, I'd like to call on you.
There is some special lighthouse category, but it's usually for operations, and this is the actual project. And any organization would be eligible to make application for a capital project. Category as stated.
Thank you.
I don't think our other lighthouses have run into that, because our other lighthouses have applied and only got small grants in previous years. $5,000 seems like a lot to give, and I realize they're doing a capital improvement. But our lighthouses, other than that, was only getting $500 a year. And that was, and I think we upped that this past year to give them more. But I'm not against them doing capital projects. I'm against all of a sudden one lighthouse getting a heck of a lot more than what our other lighthouses through our counties ever got.
Thank you for raising that, and everyone, I would ask to take notice of that and convey it to the people looking after the lighthouses in the districts that have lighthouses. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you so much. And this is a one-time grant. This is the only $5,000 pot they can get at. This group, is that right?
No, they just told us they can apply for the other one.
Further discussion? Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. I just want to say, I had attended a meeting that the Port Royal Lighthouse Association held, and the amount of work that has gone into trying to get this renovation off the ground is and will be enormous. And I do realize, as other councillors have made mention, that it seems like it is a lot. Again, as Warden Morrison has said, we can let the other lighthouses in our areas, in our districts, we can make them aware of these grants, these ongoing grants, and the opportunity to continue to apply for them. It's most unfortunate that this lighthouse has gone ill-fit for far too long, and it continued. And I say, even this season could be seriously detrimental to the bare bones that now rest there. They have attempted to rally other sources of funding, and they are connected with MLA and the federal government. So, they're going to be doing their own fundraisers to as well rally funds to help offset and seek other additional supports in communities. So I'm thrilled today to see this in the package. And totally in favor of this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the lighthouse on the left-hand side of the room. All in favor? Against? Motion carried.
Was that one against Randy?
I'm sorry.
Was there one against?
Was there one?
That was 4 hours.
Yeah, turn. All right, the next one.
I move that municipal council approve the reallocation of a maximum $50,000 from the county water reserve to fund an assessment and detailed design for the residential water system in Bear River.
Seconder? Councillor Gunn? Would you wish to say anything?
I know that the municipality has worked for a long time on this. We've tried different ways without that assessment, and it's been very difficult for us to get funding for projects because we can't answer those vital questions. So this is clearly available now.
Right here.
Councillor Gunn?
Thank you so much. I've read this through and much, and another $50,000. It seems to me a few years ago we put $45,000 up for another study, which came back once there was no action on it. I understand since that the water fund people are a little skeptical about financing a new system onto the old system. I understand that. But I do worry about that, this is just going to lead, if we get the funding to a plebiscite in that area to see if the people are willing to end up paying for what we come up with in the end. So I have my concerns about it. I'm glad to see it has happened, and I'm certainly in support of spending this money to see if we can't get this situation rectified. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item.
I move that municipal council amend AM-6.6.6 signing authorities policies by adding in subsection 5, sub 2, sub G, municipal clerk, 7-day notice.
Seconder? Councillor Crowe? Discussion? Councillor Barton?
It just seems like there's a lot in 12.2. There's 27 signing doors. That seems a lot of people go on a lot focusing on that problem is maybe thinning the herd a little bit at the same time. Do we need all of that, and does that open us up for additional problems down the road?
Thank you. It's the view of the Chief Administrative Officer who is responsible for such matters that the persons holding the appointments in this policy are the appropriate persons and also the appropriate quantity. However, you're free to make a motion.
Well, everything's subject to review, and all we're doing on this one's adding and not looking at totality of it, and so that's why I was bringing that point up.
Would you like to make a motion?
I guess I would welcome further discussion on that. Maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, but I've been involved with a lot of organizations, and I hate to keep saying that, but never been a list that long for signing authorities. It seems to be like it's problematic, or could be problematic. Not maybe right now with the current stuff, but I have seen things in the past, so I don't want to bring it to this week. But not this kind of organization, but other organizations, if they get into that situation.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I should comment. So it's a list of positions there, such as warden, deputy warden, CAO, deputy warden, treasurer, manager of finance, and now we're adding municipal clerk. So I find that to be a practical list, and there can be overlap in the persons. So, the treasurer is usually, also one of the other roles.
Yeah. The chances of two of these people walking around is very slim to none. And I guess why would you need the deputy warden and the deputy CIO and you've got treasurer, you've got manager of finance, and then if we have director of finance coming up, then all of a sudden we're going to have to look at it again. So how many people in one department that needs to be zoning for it? That's my concern.
Thank you. Councillor Allman.
Thank you. I had just wanted to have a clarification around the list. I too kind of looked at it and felt that it was a bit heavy. And although it's check signing and following through on payments, I do find it problematic that so many people would be involved in that very matter of knowing that part of the business. Like, I just think it's just too heavy. Like, I don't know how else to say it. There's too many people on that list. I don't see the relevance to having. I would say the warden, the CAO, and the municipal clerk, but I can't understand why we would need the rest of it. So I just need more clarification, I guess.
Thank you. I'd like us to understand that the Chief Administrative Officer is responsible. And if you wish to make a motion that goes against what the CAO has recommended, then you're entirely free to do so. Councilor Goff.
Thank you so much.
No, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I do see the need for having people backed up to be able to sign. I've seen situations where the warden's out of the country, it's left to the deputy warden, or perhaps our clerk or our CAO is out on, I don't know, pick a subject, stress leave, whatever. We need backup for signing authority, because we need to have our bills paid, and we can't just wait on, oh, well, he'll be back in a few days, or they'll be back in next week. My God, it sounds like some of the people I worked for through the years. But anyway, that's my point on it. Thank you.
Councillor Cotw.
I see the reasoning to have people on there, but I still think it's a little heavy too, because you only need 2 people to sign. It'll create more chaos on knowing, in my mind, all of a sudden something gets paid and the CAO is off on vacation, and all of a sudden or something didn't get paid, I think it'll cause chaos by having that many on it. I don't disagree that there should be a ample amount, but I do think it's, and yes, the chief administrator office has the right to maybe to put his thoughts forward to us, but we're the keepers of the house, and I disagree with this process. I won't be voting for the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Yes, I as well think the list is too long. I'd also want to point out, it says in D, a deputy CAO. So we have 2 deputy CAOs, okay? So the list is longer than what you have there. And I guess my
No,
thought,
excuse me, that's not true. It says a deputy CAO,
but we have 2 deputies.
but this refers to a deputy.
Yeah, but, so I know it, yeah. I think you understand what I'm saying. The other thing I just make a point, and it's been my experience that you may have a check signing day, but that's not to say that others should be able to get together other times to sign checks. You know, if a check is if check signing day was Wednesday and the check doesn't get signed until Friday because people weren't available on Wednesday, well, a couple of days is not going to make much difference. So I think the list is too long. Thank you.
Councillor Garfield, second time.
Getting deeper into it, if you have signing authority, I've been signing authority on a lot of different things here past. And I've had staff go on and like some check counseling, and so here's all these. I don't do that, that's not how I operate. I want to know what it's for. Like I said, you bring it back with the information you need. I'll take a look at it, and then I'll sign check if I feel it's appropriate. If you have too many people in there, if somebody signs one check, then somebody else another time is there, unless you have a priority of signing authorization. Then you can get into a situation where that person doesn't know whether that's a duplicate or they have no history as to what was signed or that information. It's not well to me to have proper information flow and credibility to that, as well as being in my mind to make the list. So I will not vote for that reason. It's not the purpose of just adding my name on it. I'm opening that up because I just think the policy itself needs to be looked at a little deeper.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
I have some bad recollection sitting here of there being a lot of discussion from the auditor of the way our signing authorities are done, and that I did love to talk. I was wondering if somebody could refresh my memory.
I'd like to invite our manager of finance. She's nodding on that point.
I can comment on the auditor's comments there. It was in reference to having our signing authorities don't match everybody that can log into the bank and see what's going on in the bank. So in reference to that, we would have, our accounts receivable and accounts payable have logins to the bank, but not have signing authority. The reasoning for that would be to upload a file, which then has to be authorized by the signing authorities of the bank. So that is kind of that flow from the auditors to auditors. That not everybody that's a signing authority has access to the bank. That doesn't mean that they can transfer funds. They might be uploading a payment file that is further approved by 2 of the signing officers. Or it could be, they have access to go in and download bank statements to perform bank reconciliation functions, those types of things. Those are further refined in terms of permissions, but aren't essentially approvals. If that helps, the difference between the two, that's kind of what the auditor was saying.
Thank you. Councillor Wong.
Thank you again. Just so the public are aware, what does the current list actually contain for those who can sign? This list?
Yeah,
This
that
total
was-
list?
yes.
So what changed?
Well,
Are they just adding
what
one?
we're proposing today is to add the clerk.
Okay. It's putting the clerk back.
Yes, actually, yes, thank you. Actually, we had the clerk for many years. It was taken off for some reason, and I never got a clear explanation of the rationale for taking them off.
That's what I needed. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Okay.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against the motion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion is lost.
Okay.
Thank you.
So may I make a suggestion? Given council's interest in this, why don't we put together an analysis, give you more background? For the sake of the public listening today, there are a lot of controls before it gets to the signers. There are, I approve every single expense. I review that with our accounts payable person, and when anyone is asked to sign a check, they are presented with a full report of all of that. There is a lot of process and controls underneath this, but why don't we prepare a more detailed analysis of this and come back to you? I would suggest a good timeline for that would be February versus January. I don't think it's urgent, and with the holidays, there isn't actually a lot of time between now and January committee of the whole.
Good.
Councilor Collins?
Since you're talking on the matter, I would like to have an opinion of our new auditors too, and the sign authorities.
Further comments? Deputy Warden.
There's no motion on the table.
No.
Somebody would like to move that.
It's your option if you want to put specific things into a motion, or I volunteered to take it away as a staff responsibility. It's up to you.
So direct the staff to take it and bring it back in February. Do we need a motion to direct? Yes. So I just made the motion, I guess.
Thank you. Seconder. Councilor Longmire, discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Against? Motion carried. Next item, please.
I move that municipal council defer the payment of $50,724.66 to the town of Annapolis Royal for sewer services to be paid following the completion of the recommendation from the consultant.
Seconder, Councilor Gunn. Discussion. I would ask you to read that motion very carefully, and I'd like someone to explain it to you. This motion says that we are to pay that amount of money to the town of Annapolis Royal following the completion of the recommendation from the consultant. If the consultant indicates we pay nothing, we're going to ignore it. We're going to pay $50,724.55.
Then we need to change.
There you are.
I would also point out that we have not yet authorized this expense. We, at the last motion, deferred off decision until this month, because we wanted more information back from staff. I'm not supposed to speak against the motion I just moved, but okay.
Councilor Hudson.
Perhaps I could make an amendment to that. Perhaps it might clarify the situation. And I'll read what I'm thinking. That municipal council defer the decision regarding payment of the $50,000 to the town of Annapolis.
And a period.
Well, the same thing, just add in there to defer the decision regarding the payment.
So you want to insert the words decision regarding?
Yeah, defer the decision regarding the payment.
Second.
Councillor Gunn seconds. Comments on the amendment? All in favor?
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
Just following that sentence, just for further clarity, that amount, just now not supposed to be paid forward. Maybe it should say potential adjusted payment. Because it's still, the decisions regarding it, and they're, I'll clarify, but I don't think completely looks after that. So like, could you make an amendment to the amendment?
Okay.
Just to be, paid. Maybe I should say after be paid, say as adjusted.
After the word paid, you would put as,
That's right, you know. Okay. For sewer services, be paid adjusted to recommendations. I'm just trying to formulate it as I go here. You don't want to say something? Exact words, I'm not trying to handle that.
I just need a clarification before we go on.
all right, yes? Please.
First of all, the beginning of the sentence, the recommendation is that municipal council delays the decision regarding the payment of, or does it say that municipal council deferred the decision? I don't know. Which one is it?
Defer.
The words are deferred. The word is deferred in the
Defer.
original motion. The amendment would make the motion read that municipal council defer the decision regarding payment of $50,724.66 and the rest of it.
I think it makes sense.
I think it's better.
We need a second motion, or a second amendment.
No, I don't think that says it all.
Well,
We don't know.
still has that one figure in there, and it never said that it's to be a potential adjusted amount. If we get a report back, we might find that that amount is less or more.
You have an amendment.
And also that's basically for, and I think it was maybe similar to that was retroactive to March.
2 words. Okay.
So,
Councillor, do you have an amendment to the amendment to offer?
I could add being a potential adjusted amount. And we could keep going on words, but I don't think we get too lengthy.
Do you want to remove the amount? That's what I was just going to suggest. Why don't we just remove the amount?
Yeah, just remove the amount. This is regarding payment. Yeah, that would do it. That would do it. Thank you.
So that's an amendment to the amendment.
Yeah, makes
To
sense.
amend.
All right. Any further discussion?
So just remove all 50,746. It's okay.
Is there a second? Councillor Gunn? Could you read the amendment to the amendment, please?
The motion that they're voting on now is to amend the amendment by removing the amount in the word of, so removing of $50,724.66.
Yep.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? The amendment is carried. Kirk would read the wording on which we are voting next.
Monopoly on the amendment as amended to read was moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Dunn, to amend the motion by inserting decision regarding after defer the and by removing 50,724.66.
Discussion on the amendment. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? The amendment is carried. Now we'll vote on the motion as amended. Everyone?
So I'm strongly opposed to this. This is a bill we approved 9 months ago under a contract that had been in place for years. Even if it had expired, it was still an ongoing process for a very long time. Mr. Eisner's report will be about the sewer rate going forward. Not particularly relevant to this. We should pay our bills. I think we should pay the county matter. We delayed it for a month because we wanted more information from staff. To receive that information very promptly. And we should pay our bills.
Thank you. Further comments?
I have.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. And I do agree that we should be paying our bills. There's no decision making there. We should be. But in the discussion part, the last sentence, which is where I was looking at, it says the town staff support this direction and agree. So if it wasn't for that statement, I would be questioning.
Further discussion? Councillor Cotw.
We didn't get the answers we asked. We brought back a look at bill. Because we felt that the numbers weren't matching up, and we've never got anything, no information on whatsoever from the staff on what questions we asked at the council meeting we deferred. Because we asked and pointed out that unless it was a strike of luck and something else, that the same amount of hookups was on each side of the river. I personally put my view forward to the CAO that why would we take a second-hand person to tell us our business? Why haven't we had a staff take the time to figure out how many hookups we have on each side of the river so we can tell Annapolis Royal how many people we have? Why would I want somebody else to tell me my business? We've never received any information on that. We received this.
Thank you. It's a relevant question. It's difficult for our staff to analyze this because it's a third party's bill. So that's why we've proposed, and when we asked the big question, well, how do we figure this out comprehensively? That's when we came up with the idea that we need to do this study that you see attached there.
Can I?
Please.
And my concern is this study should tell us exactly how many people we have on that side of the river and this side of the river hooked to that system. So we know that when Annapolis Royal sends a bill in years to come, that if they say there's 400 hookups there and our research says 250, we have a problem. But if we don't do that, then we're taking the word of a third-party person, telling us how to spend our money. All I'm asking is very simple. How many people we have hooked up to their system?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. I'd like to invite our Director of Public Works, Mr. Young, to comment on that.
All good questions, and I think you're correct in asking for those details. The study will give us those details from the third party, whether they'd ever give it to us or not. But we do have metering going into from Granville Ferry and from Lakeel going into Annapolis Road. So we know how much flow goes in there for sewage. And the consultant will take that money, look at our number of units that we have. They'll look at the number of units Annapolis Road has and come up with a rate structure that won't have any hocus pocus. It'll just be one number. Capital will be built into the rate, all the operating costs, everything will be built into the rate. And this rate, we've agreed, will start April of 2022. So for the new year. So the bill that's outstanding was previous, and with the comment, one councillor made that, the Annapolis Rural understands that it doesn't make sense either. Yes, they admitted that. And in the same breath, they were talking about, oh, well, we have another capital bill we'd like to send. And we said, no, we're done. New rate, new thing, get your capital out of the rate, like we have to for our work that we do in the county. We get our capital out of our rate structure and it goes into reserves. They need to do the same.
Yeah, Mr. Young, could you repeat the anticipated start date for that new rate, please?
Oh, April of 2022.
With the
This past
okay.
April is what we agreed. We'd go back to there to start. So nothing of the old agreement is coming into this year.
Councillor Sheeran.
So in regards to the study, because Annapolis Rural is an agreement, like to work with the municipality, are they in an agreement to help pay for the study?
I can answer that. I said that we would pay for the study to get them an agreement so that they would be, a partner.
Okay.
Further, Deputy Warden?
In Mr. Eisner's letter there, he asked should a presentation come to municipal council next week. We're very keen to have Mr. Eisner present his report to us.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Next is 5.5. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council amend AM 2.7.1 occupational health and safety policy by adding the words "and near miss" in subsection 3, sub 7 as circulated with a 7-day notice.
Seconder, Councillor Long. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council amend AM 7.3.1 publication and signage policy by making the changes as circulated and recommended by the working group a 7-day notice.
Seconder. Councillor Longmire. Discussion.
The statement. Thank you to the staff for helping us go through this and coming up with the final draft.
Deputy Warden.
Yes, thank you for staff. We were very helpful. We brought it back with essentially the same content and direction that staff originally had given. And but I have an ongoing concern of our legal ability to promote businesses under the MGA, since we're not allowed to promote. The wording is very vague. I have it right here. But when I kind of read the whole section, it was sort of, if you want to promote businesses, you have to be a member of a rent or something similar. It kind of says that without outright saying that. So that leaves a couple of questions for this policy as it sits. I know staff has told me other municipalities do this, which is fine and good. They're other municipalities, they're not us.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Hudson.
Just a quick question, and maybe I missed something along the way. You got green and yellow. Is the green new? Is that being added or deleted?
Well, it's not.
It's all, the green and yellow are all that.
Oh, okay. You confused me with the two colors.
Was there, the yellow was the original
Oh, okay.
ad, if I remember, and green is
Okay.
working group ad.
Okay. Thanks so much.
And some of this green is crossed out.
Yeah, because we discussed it. And then we discussed it.
Councillor Gunn.
Thank you so much. And I noticed on that point, through you, Warden, that some of this green is crossed out. I mean, and there's a line through it. So are we to take that was added and then taken out? Is that what's going on here or what?
If I might, the green is actually what the working council group wanted to add or take out. So what happened is the yellow is what was recommended by staff the first round, and then the green is what the committee, which is the working committee of council, took a look at and decided that we want to change the wording slightly, improve it, or we want to take it out. So if you see a green, should have been a lighter green, it was a consensus of the working group to add that.
Okay. I still haven't got my answer. Thank you, if I may. The green, some of it is lined out. So does that mean it's in, or does it mean it's out?
So the yellow, the original
That's
yellow
fine.
highlights were the recommendations, whether they were additions or deletions.
I understand.
And the green are additions or deletions by the working group.
Okay, so if the line through it, then it's been
They've
deleted.
taken that phrase out, or, yes.
So they added it and then took it out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now I get it. Thank you so much
I
for that
think it's
explanation.
probably part of the original. I don't think they added it and then took it out. I think they're highlighting a section that they looked at, and they took that part out of the original policy.
Yeah, that's better.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Barto, please.
I believe, Councilor got covered questions on this.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? 1. Motion carried. I don't want to start a discussion. I'm not starting a discussion. But it would be nice if we had a plain document to consider. Thank you. Next item. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council authorize the warden and clerk to sign easement to Nova Scotia Power Inc. NSPI at PID number 05057211 for the sum of $1 as per the attached document.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Gunn. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Oh, gee.
This is one I have.
Where are we at?
56. 56.
Sorry, I
Fire
didn't page numbers.
Local improvement. Fire 28. 58.
Page 56. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council give reading to approve S4 local improvement charges bylaw as circulated.
Seconded by Councillor Barto. Discussion. Councillor Barto.
I've gone through that, and there's more questions in there that at this point we would drag in council ready to go through it all. I think that we can ask working group draft that maybe we should define some of these issues before council.
Joe was 56.
To have first reading, because we haven't had a chance. We haven't had a chance to go up to 15.
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, just the, we're going back to, any time to contemplate this, properly. And I don't think that's, again, a big ask to table that until we have a chance to, review and bring it back. And on top of that, not only just for this item, but other, amended policies and new policies, if we could have a group, maybe we can set another committee of council that would look along that so that council would be more understanding and work for us, the committee in the future. So that's some comments, but it's not really a clear motion. To start with, I'd like to table. I think we can take what, but then commentary was just my reason.
Motion is to table.
There's your motion. Seconder.
Right here.
Councilor Khan. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Just parenthetically, we ought to be careful that we are not setting up mechanisms that make us part of the management structure of the county.
I agree.
That is not our place. Thank you. Next item, Deputy Warden.
Page 72, 4? No.
Yes, 72.
I move that municipal council approve a cost of living increase for 1.7. I'm going to start that again. I move that municipal council approve a cost of living increase of 1.7% for council commencing January 1st, 2023.
Thank you. Discussion. I'm sorry. Seconder. Councilor Longmire. Discussion. Councilor Bartow.
In reading through it, just for consistency and fairness, it seems that there's thought put into sort of limiting the staff to get 2% based on contracts with unions people. Should there be one policy that applies to council as well? Because remind you that I staff why would we be different figure, paying it more or less than paying our employees?
Thank you. CEO.
I believe I'd like to invite Ms. Campbell to comment on that if she's willing.
That sounds like a great idea. Let me give you a little bit of background. The purpose that I really had in putting this village in now is that I would like to clean up this policy in January. And part of cleaning it up in January is that I would like for councilors to receive their increases at the same time as non-union staff. Be much cleaner in January. We've gone flip-flop over recent years several times between councilors getting increases in April or councilors getting increases in January. It becomes very confusing for both councilors and staff. Because I would like to do that in January, I did not want to then make it so that you had to go 15 months without the salary increase, which is what would happen if I made the change to that policy. So I would move things back a month to be able to give you the opportunity to have your increase cleanly in January and make the changes at the presentation of committee of the whole in January. The other change that I will be bringing forward in January is that I would like to see the remuneration amounts placed back in the policy for two reasons. Provides transparency for the public, and it also gives you an annual opportunity to review the policy and consider your remuneration cleanly. The way council determined a few years ago that they would make sure that the budget always provided for the increase for councilors was the portion of the policy that says the budget, unless there's a resolution otherwise, the budget will always contain 1.7 million consideration of what councilors want to take as an increase as part of the budget process. That makes increases for councilors very convoluted. This would really simplify, streamline, and unify the increases for counselors at the same time that non-union staff receive it. Council has the discretion at any time to change from the 1.7. I propose the 1.7 in line with what is in the current policy. Should you wish to do 2% in January, that would absolutely be your discretion to do so.
Further discussion? Deputy Warden.
I first had questions about this policy when I was essentially sworn in. It's one of the first policies I had questions about to staff, and I cannot really articulate how excited I am about everything. Go ahead, try. Ms. Campbell has just relayed all of it for so many reasons, and it has been a conversation we've had for 2 years. That said, one of the things I heard when campaigning was about councillor pay and the increases that had gone on in the previous 4 years. The only thing I promised anyone was that I would not vote for a pay increase for councillors. Something that was part of policy was fine. That's there. But as this is currently phrased, it is a pay increase for councillors. It's the cost of living thing, but I think if you also looked at the policy and wanted to really split hairs, you could end up doubling up on the 1.7 increase to councillors. Just spitballing off the top of my head there. That has happened before with interpretation if you look at months following and all sort of stuff. I had this conversation yesterday with Ms. Cannon. So I am required by my own personal thing to vote against this. That is not to say that I am not thrilled about our policy being reviewed. And that I'll leave that there.
Yep. All in favor? Opposed? 1. Thank you. We are now moving into the information report phase. An information report means the staff has practices, documents to give us information. As always, it does not limit anything we might wish to do. And the first one is from the clerk on boundary review and governance. Okay, thank you. The second one is on
excuse me, there's one line here about a single IP address. Page 77. Second line, third line down.
yes.
Something I learned from the village commission last night. They operate their own internet system, which has approximately 330 customers. All of those 330 customers will show up to the outside world as a single IP address.
That's interesting.
It could explain something. That said, I have yet to hear anybody in the village speak favorably of having a mayor. So, it's just...
Thank you.
This was to receive all of the input, not just on mayor.
Next item.
Next is, we going on from the governance network.
It's a piece of paper that has been put forward for information. All right, the second one is Western Woodlot Services Cooperative Proposed Harvest Activity. Councilor Donald, do you want to speak on this?
Thank you so much. And I'd like to really thank Janice for putting that package together. I know a lot of you probably had some very interesting reading. You know, she did a very good job of putting together chronologically how we all came to this point. And I thank her for that. And at the end of it all, I have a motion that I'd like to put on the table, sir. It's just as soon as I find it. It's on the last end of it. The page that ends on, David, right there. I move that Annapolis County enter the agreement with the Western Woodlot Services Cooperative to ecologically harvest the county's land in Gravewood. I don't know if it needs more than that or not, but. And further, to that motion, I'd like to set the proceeds of the forestry activity to be set in an account, a separate account, to further the county's ecological forestry practices. You want two motions?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just need it repeated.
Okay.
One motion's okay.
I move that Annapolis County enter the agreement with the Western Woodlot Services Cooperative to ecologically harvest the county's land.
Let's slow down.
Did you type that right?
To ecologically harvest.
To ecologically harvest the county's land in Greywood. I don't know if you need a PID number for that or not.
If you have it.
Probably do. It would just take me a second to find it.
If you look at page 142, I think they're there.
142, thank you, David.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
I need to hear the rest of it. If he's putting the PID, please.
It's on 78.
It's right there. It's PID 0509.
So there's right there.
1152, right there.
Okay.
05.
Yeah, 05091152.
There's two others.
There's three PIDs, but that carries on afterwards. We're starting with the one.
Are you including all three PIDs in
No,
there?
just the one.
Just that one?
Just the one, because that's what we're starting with. That's the only thing that they've really given us any information on. They gave us some more on the other, but that's from Tom Berry's report.
Okay, hold on. Stuart.
Okay, through you.
Councillor Gunn is proposing a motion. Do we have a second? Councillor Proust. Discussion. Councillor Proust.
Thank you. I'd like to echo the comments of Councillor Gunn for Janice Young for putting this all together. Some of it I had heard when I first came here and went on the forestry committee. I heard it from Councillor Gunn and so on. But it was a great synopsis, more than a synopsis, really. I mean, the meat of it is, to me, is page 140 and 142. And I agree. I think it's time to move onward with this project. And it was nice to have it all put together so cleanly and easy to follow. A lot of reading, but still very worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion. Councillor Longmire.
Thank you. I too would like to say thanks to Janice Young for putting this together, and it's amazing. It's definitely something we do need to get started on. I'm just a bit confused around the Gravewood parcel because as I read through it, there were 3 PIDs, and so I just need that clarification before I'm going to be in favor of a motion or not.
Thank you so much. Through you, Warden. The Western Woodlot Forest Cooperative Services when they went this last year and gave us a proposal, it was based on the PID that's there, and it's a 15 to 20 hectare section of property that they're looking to start on. There are other sections on that property, but those weren't considered in the original package that they gave us. So that's why there's a difference. They haven't gone through. It may have been mentioned, and you mustn't get this across, that on Tom Berry's report, because Janice included Tom Berry's report that was done years ago. So part of this was done in 2013, I believe. So a lot of that was done that. That is not what the Western Woodlot Forest Cooperative proposed. We asked them to do a 15 to 20 hectare section, and that's what they came back to us with. So that is what I'm proposing in the motion, is that we go with what they proposed originally, and that would leave us, I forget, somewhere around $7,500. Return, it might be a little more now because the price of lumber has gone up and resource has gone up, so it may well be a little more. The second part to my motion would be that we take that, whatever's the proceeds from that and put it into a separate fund so that we can carry on ecological forestry on our other pieces of property, which would then go on to include the other two sections that are listed.
Still, my question isn't quite answered, but that's getting me a little bit closer, except I don't see it documented anywhere there, just on that one PID. Because my concern would be that I don't want to see that we're proceeding on with other parcels of land that we didn't agree on. And so their letter to us, or their acknowledgement to us on the 14 hectare.
The motion
Yes.
has one PID.
Yes, I get that. I need a clarification. Yeah, I'm still not happy. That's fine. I'll leave it there. Okay. Okay. All right.
Further discussion? Sorry, Councilor Breckman.
I guess I'm not an expert at it, and stumping chuck fees are usually, the owner gets more out of their land or their product than that. So it seems to be that if the ingredients are correct, it seems to be fairly low. And we, send out the cord, which is very low. And a lot of the companies that come in and do it will do what's necessary to get to it, not charge us again for building up roads for the benefit of taking out our products. That seems like a fairly low number, but they offer it back to us.
Thank you.
And I don't even have my concerns on that, further backup information supporting it.
Thank you. Further comments?
I think I have now just found something that is helpful more. Good you.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? 1. Thank you. Now we turn 50 pages. Oh, sorry, excuse me. You wanted to make a second motion of yes. Yeah, my mistake.
Now I have to find the paper. No, here it is. And I move that Annapolis County set the proceeds from the ecological forestry activity in the Greywood land to be set in a special account to be used for further ecological forestry practices in Annapolis County.
Second,
that makes sense.
Councilor Brown. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
Who's the second, please?
Councilor Crowe. And I'd simply like to say that this is an item on which Councilor Gunn has been working for a number of years, aided and abetted by various colleagues along the way.
Did you have a question? Sorry. When I'm capturing the motion, I don't always hear the results. Thank you.
So, good for you. Now, what page? Are we on page 143?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Hard to believe.
Deputy Warden. Our residents approached me because it was their recollection that when the Upper Clements Park lands were originally handed over to something from the province, there was a condition there that it was always be accessible by the public. Did anybody else have recollection, memory of this? No? Thank you. Shall we move on, please, to page 148?
Well, sorry.
Yes?
Could I make a comment on that last one? Thank you very much. I didn't quite realize we were there. I think it's this piece of property is a fabulous piece of property, and I believe that the north side, in keeping with this, should probably be listed. And so, because the north side of that property is excellent development. So is part of the south side of the property, as we all know. The trails are going to be a wonderful thing. My God, I put them in 40 another lifetime. But and to see that they would be coming back and still is a wonderful thing for me. I believe that the south side of that highway, we have an excellent opportunity, as I stated a couple of years ago. Now that we have it, there's really not any big use for that south side, but we have a fence, a 6-foot, 8-foot deer fence around that. And I always come back to the idea of what a fabulous community garden. And in these times, it wouldn't be a bad idea to see if there is a community group that would like to go down there and plant that for a couple of years until we actually decide what we're going to do with that property. Thank you. That's all I have to
Yes, just for my information, I guess. The Upper Clements Planning Area Review, is there a expected date when that may be completed, or is that in the county-wide, or? So I'm just asking because the decision could be down the road.
I'm looking around for the room for an ideal person, and I think I'd like to invite Mr. Lamb to comment on that. Leonard?
Yes, just one moment, please. I'm just trying to bring up the potential dates. Okay. Currently, trying to take into account the availability of staff at the moment, it appears that for Upper Clements, we'd be looking at the beginning of 2024 for that plan to be fully completed. Most likely either being, sorry, Counselor, I might have given you the wrong date on the weekend. Change that. The idea is for this plan, there's some technicals here, to actually be complete come in the December of 2023. It's a different plan that is looking to be pushed back until the new year. And it does, however, only take into account the current availability of staff. That timeline might be able to move up depending on changes.
Councilor Berkeley.
I'd like to not dally on accommodating or seeking improvements. It's just moving along. We're talking about plans as well. I was looking at the list on page 147, and it seems to be fairly explicit on housing and other things that until a new plan comes along, the old plan is still in place. So if in our mind we have opportunities to put in our RFP and it would fit within the current plan, there's nothing stopping us at this point. We have not said we can't use the current plan until the new plan's here. I'm a little baffled on the delay to 2024 because of that. If we find that there's something in here And I'm not up on that plan, but if we find something in here that we need to change in our mind to make it appropriate, that's one thing, but I haven't heard that. So what's the delay of putting out an RFP to get some residential development or whatever we're doing to pull that together? I just think, I don't want to wait till 2024 and then start again, then we're going to need another year to discuss it. But I think that we can take all that our thought and do it now unless there's a good reason why not.
I might want to get Missy to comment because she's put together the report, but it's not currently zoned residential.
This goes back to
I want the
uses. It includes residential. On page 147.
so let's study this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that list is the draft proposal by the Clements Area Advisory Group on the uses. Is that correct?
So it doesn't say that. Traffic approved.
Thank you. Councilor Khan?
Yes, and I'm on the same side as my colleague there that my fear is that we spent 50,000+ cleaning up a mess. Is that right or more? 500. 500.
50.
By the time it's
Over 500.
And we left some existing buildings still standing as of today. But we don't know what's going to happen by spring. That if they're going to be to the point where they should be torn down because they've been vandalized again. I honestly think it should be on the market now, not 6 months from now.
Would it help if we had a copy of the current permitted uses? Would council want to put this off until later today?
Okay.
And then if we had current uses, do something, or is this something you want to put on committee of the whole in January, or?
Maybe that's just an information report.
It is an information report, but I'd like to have the current information as well as the proposed uses.
And further to my opinion there was that we sold a school, or we attempted to sell a school in Bridgetown with us changing the zoning. So I'm sure that if there's entrepreneurs that's been looking at that property, and I was questioned by a resident 2 years ago about a group willing to purchase that facility. They actually offered to buy it when the county received it, but their request was ripped up because the school was on the minds of the holder at that time. But there are interest in people developing that piece of property into residential properties and stuff. So I think before a bunch more damage is done and we have to recoup that, we should consider putting it for sale. I'm sure if a developer is interested, he'll be interested to go to the meetings of the zoning to get their feel of what's going to be there.
Councilor Sherry?
I was just going to ask if I could put a motion on the floor, possibly to have a report from staff, to recommend to council a report from staff to look into selling and what goes into selling that portion of property.
By when?
When would it be? January? Is that fair?
Where we may be heading is because of how we feel about this property, is exploring the possibility of expediting the process, such expediting to be justified by the importance council attaches to this matter. And I think that's something that if we adopt, is there a second or Councilor Sheridan?
Just a report. Yeah. It's a report from staff.
Yes, and seconded by Council Khan. And what we say in the tenor of discussions, I'm sure will be taken into mind when staff drafts that report.
Was there, so I just had to have a report from staff regarding the sale of property. Was there a timeline?
January.
I'd like to suggest we have to consult outside people, and it's over Christmas. I would like to suggest, unless council's concerned about the timeline, February. If we can do it faster, if we can bring it to you in January, we will. But we've got to consult outside parties, and right now I have no idea of their availability in the coming few weeks.
January/February is fine.
We will do it as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
So is that,
Pardon me?
I have a question.
Please.
So will that involve both sides or just one side? A combination of?
Good question. It's your motion. I think we're explicitly looking, my understanding right now is we're looking at the north side.
Yes.
All of it.
Where the buildings are, just so we don't have any more vandalism.
So that should be in the motion.
Yeah, just the building part.
Where the existing buildings are.
Okay.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Or yes.
Opposed? Thank you. Page 148, I think.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I do have some questions on that.
Councilor Sheridan?
So, in regards to the sale, a month ago we had a report that the surplus was 55,000 roughly. This is the old report. And this time we're up, and I'm happy that the surplus is up to 500 and some thousand, almost 600,000. I'm happy about that, but not sure why such a change. It's $500,000 difference in a month. So just curious if I could ask a question.
I believe that was just in how we presented that, and that included moving some money around, but I'd like to get our manager of finance to answer specifically.
So the 572 is actually the surplus, and there's a line in that previous email that I had provided where 572 was the surplus, and then 516, it was optional, that staff could repay the amount to gas tax reserve, which would further reduce that, but 572 was the surplus.
Okay.
So it's sitting in our capital reserve right now, so it's sort of 6 and 1/2 dozen another in that.
So regarding that, Seaside, I see that we paid, I think it was around 80 in one area on here. Let's see it.
Seaside what?
Well, I just recall a Seaside invoice that we.
Operational cost?
Yeah, it was 82, but we approved an invoice for 177,000 back in October, but you don't have that on there. So is that something that got missed or misplaced somewhere else?
That one we just paid, I believe, last week in our check signing. However, it is included in the formal estimates in there. It was accrued at year end. It has already been expensed to the accounts for that estimate.
But it wasn't broken down on your line item?
No. It's already done.
So I'm not quite understanding. I'll let somebody else have a question. I just have, go ahead. Somebody else.
Other comments? Councillor Bartow, followed by Councillor Hudson.
Just follow on. That is mentioned. It's all another item. I want that cleaned up everything. But let's see, operational costs for Seaside, annual fees of $82,000. Why is that an number? It's really good work.
So what manager of finance again?
Question repeated, we just found the 154 is actually included in the miscellaneous line. I'm not sure why it was broken out, but I got it in the spreadsheet here, and it is 154. We recovered all the tax, so it was 177 total, but 154 was extra expense to the project. If we get the next question.
I guess I thought that cleaned up. Seaside, why is there another line item of $2,638.71?
Going through all our costs here. Okay, so the Seaside portion should not actually be in that line. It's the F6 annual fees that are the 82,638. Seaside is included up top under the miscellaneous for operating costs at the 154.
What's F6?
F6 is a contract we have that's our backbone provider. That's what gives you the connection from wherever you get the internet connection from, that brings it down to, yes.
Yeah. It's an anticipated $5 million more million. That's on the page around for that description.
So the make-ready costs. So that is the make-ready costs. Because we don't have all of the quotes back from Nova Scotia Power, that is the anticipated, and I was generous in that. Is just what I'm trying to say. So I'm just trying to be a little bit on the more cautious side. I overestimate because we don't have all the numbers back. But the actual budgeted amount is around 420 and change.
I just figured some of that stuff could have been resolved before we did the sale.
Thank you. Further comments?
Yes, I have two questions regarding the numbers. Firstly, going back to the make ready, on page 150, you got $1,100,000 anticipated remaining. Is that correct, or was that the budget for make ready? We can't have $5,100,000 left in make ready cost. And what I also will refer to in that regard is the memo that we received, I believe it was last month, and it was in response to the questions that former Warden Harris put forward. And number 5, the question was, are there any expected expenses such as hatch yet to be paid other than Eagle, which relate to the sale of the internet project? And the answer was section 2.14 of the tax agreement indicates the county is responsible for the make-ready portion of the project. And it goes on to say that an accrual has been set up, but then it ends by saying this is estimated to be approximately 1.4.
Yeah, I can start with that one. So the 5.1 million, we estimated what was remaining based on the budget for the project. assuming that it comes within budget. So we don't have any other estimate to go by at this point, but it is still part of the contract price, essentially. It was right, the overall bill, we used the wrong term there. So we did use the budget amount. In my memo.
So the question is, it's not remaining. It says anticipated remaining.
That's what I anticipate the remaining.
What was the budget?
It was 4.8, but, so this is just. So we paid, what we've paid and what's remaining. So what I've just said to you is I've overestimated the expense so that we could be prepared. This particular number in the 5.1 is an overestimate of what we could be expecting to do. On the safer side, as opposed to going underestimating it and then coming back and saying, oh, I underestimated it. It was actually 5.2, I said it was 3.5 million or 3.9 million, and it came in at 5.1. At least I've estimated on the higher end so that we can get a good idea of what we're going to have for numbers at the end of the day. If that makes sense. Further to that, my memo talked about reducing that amount by the funding we would be anticipating receiving. So when I estimated it for the accrual as it's put into the GL right now and in our financial statements, as it'll show, it is the budget amount estimated budget amount remaining of the 4.8. However, reduced by the CTI funding amount, which we aren't guaranteed to get it all. So I made a conservative adjustment based on the revenue side of it. It doesn't show in this table in this report, but that is the background of how we did that. So it nets out to be about the same amount. So right here, we're presenting all the expenses gross and all the revenues gross, whereas in the year-end accruals, I have netted them because we will receive some offsetting funding for that 5.1 million. It can be seen in that line of the 2.7 there.
Okay.
It's just a different presentation.
My second question goes down on the same page, legal fees. $1,350,000, we'll say. Are those fees, these start over. We put on our RSP and the successful component respondent was exploring it. Are those fees from that point on?
Which fees are you referring to?
Huh?
Which fees are you referring to?
On that page 150,
yeah.
Legal fees, $1,349,756.10. Is that our legal fees that we've incurred to finalize the sale with Explorer?
The legal fees to finalize the sale of Explorer specifically were about $21,000. There are some amounts included in here, about $698,000 is actually made ready. So there is an adjustment that needs to happen. So $698,000 of the legal fees needs to go up to the make ready section. It was paid through our lawyer. So that's how it came through the GL as legal fee. However, it was actually a make ready. So the legal fees reconciled should be $655,727. They consist of $6,500 for arbitration, $620,000 paid to GMG for contract negotiations. I believe the mainland, is that correct assumption? I'll get Janice to confirm that. And then to Cox and Palmer for $7,500, and then the sale cost to Explornet for $21,053.
So those are all the legal fees from all of the internet. Am I understanding that way?
Okay, Councilor Hudson.
Not clear on that at all. Firstly, I don't see why, even though we paid fees to our solicitor and we went through with the solicitor, why it wouldn't be recognized as make-ready cost and versus being lumped in with legal fees. Just just because it went through a solicitor doesn't mean that the purpose was to pay Make Ready, right?
Yeah, I'd like to invite Ms. Younger or Ms. Campbell, you both have your hand up if you want to comment on that section.
I just wanted to further explain what Angela was just saying. So there were costs, there were monies that were given to the legal firm that were actually paid out to a third party for make-readies. They were paid to the legal firm, held in trust, and transferred over, and they're actually part of the make-ready costs. And that's what Angela was talking about adjusting.
Okay.
All right. Deputy Warden, oh, sorry, I got to next.
I was just gonna ask for that to be read through again a little bit slower, so I can go through the breakdown of the legal costs.
So the legal costs, we have arbitration for $6,525. We had contract negotiations and other legal expenses through Gilbert, LeBlanc, and Gillis for $620,682. And then we have legal fees with Cox and Palmer. It looks like mediation dealing with legal expenses and easement issues for $7,465. And then internet sale costs for the sale to ExploreNet of $21,053. For a total of about $655,727.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And through you, Warden, I'd like to know where the payment we made to Parsons Group is reflected in this, or perhaps that's reflected somewhere else. Oh, that is the settlement. So that's the settlement, what I see is settlement. Okay, thank you so much.
Councillor Sheridan?
So in here it's got line of credit interest, 171. So from the proceeds from the sale, has the line of credit been taken care of? Have we paid it off completely?
Yes, in full.
In full, okay. I did have another question. So basically what you're saying is you overestimate it here, there, and we're not sure still where we're gonna sit for a surplus at the end. This is just a basic underestimated surplus is what you're saying, because it could be quite a bit larger than that. But we won't know until the make-readies are complete. Is that what I'm getting at?
That's correct. This is everything with all the facts that we have to date and everything that has been expensed out or we anticipate being expensed out to the end of the project. But you're right, it can change based on 2.13 and 2.14 of the contract, which leaves us liable still for make-ready work as well as the completion of the Eagle contract.
And do we have any idea how close they are to completing?
When I spoke with the project team, their estimate is July 2023. Initially it was anticipated to be the end of February of 2023, but due to the amount of storms that they've had a backlog of maintenance issues, and so they extended it to July. It's pretty certainly before that, but on the same side, July, the end of July.
So we won't know probably till next August, September where we sit with this project. Wow. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to 152, dealing with investments.
That was so interesting.
Councillor Sheridan?
So the investment portion was a little interesting to me as well. I'm not a big investor, I dabble a little myself, right? So I kind of took it upon myself to look in to see what a protected, what was it, PPN? Principal Protected Note was. And I know you gave us some scenarios that the principal is guaranteed. So I did find on the government webpage government of Canada page. That not necessarily is the principal protected if the market is low and you need the money at that time, because there could be a penalty for you to take that money at that time. Is that correct?
That can be correct. It depends. Every principal protected note is actually a custom note written, so we would essentially take the terms. But it is correct, and principal protected notes would not be your only investment portfolio. So that's why you would definitely have your GICs or say some bonds where you can get your funds out at any time, and you would invest in a principal protected note where you're not going to need to use those for the term of that investment. However, with the 5 banks that we've specifically invested in, if we look at the trends, they tend to recover well. In the Solactive Index, it's relatively new. The Solactive Index came in 2017. It's just an index that they base returns on as opposed to like the TSX or something like that. But if you look at, say, the TSX and the trend analysis, banks tend to trend linear. So that was kind of the logic for that specific PPN, but you are correct, yes. And we would factor that in before making any investment decisions of that nature.
So you've already invested some in this, though? Is that what you're saying we have? Okay.
That's right.
Because we didn't know how much, or are you going to give us a report at some time on what's invested, how much is invested, so we can learn a little bit more about this at some point?
Yes, I can do that. It's $4 million is invested right now in PPN. Now, this is not operational funds that we need at this exact time. This is also, money sitting in reserve funds that we wouldn't necessarily use right away. We could use, this could include reserve funds for any of the funds, essentially, because for cash flow management, I took the past 3 years to forecast what we wouldn't necessarily need in right away, and assuming average accounts payables and payroll expenditures, receivables when we get our tax money, as well as everything is caught together at the bank so that our accounts kind of flow with each other for cash flow purposes, just because we get all of our money at one time with our tax bills.
But you haven't invested in different products. It's not just the PPNs.
No, that's right. Yeah, we did GICs as well.
So if we needed to pay off, say, that large amount of line of credit, we would have access to funds to pay that line of credit off without creating a penalty.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. I'd like to thank the manager of finance for all her reports here, but I was very intrigued with the PPNs and what the further explanation on page 155. And I don't do any of my own investing, not that I have a lot of things invested in, but those really intrigued me, and thank you for the information. It was very, I don't want to say uplifting, but it was very interesting, and I'm pleased to think that it may be a revenue source of some amount going forward. Thank you.
I think I need to transfer my ignorance here and bring a policy forward. I would like a fairly substantial presentation on these things. I think a lot of my questions are pretty elementary. They're just things I'm missing in the explanation. Okay.
Our manager of finance very eagerly wants to have a detailed talk with council about that, yes.
Councilor Burkett.
Just one question. 150% participation.
Sorry, I can't hear. Could you come? Thank you.
So we're going to have to project the diaphragm. On the chart says for the beginning, 150% participation. How do you participate on 50%?
Thank you. That's a good question, actually. I didn't kind of remember that. So that's a different structure of PPM. That's not the one we actually read with, but that's what a lot of them are structured like. They're really good. I've had really good success with those, but the participation means if the market is up 10% from when we invested, we get 150% of the return of that. So it would be 10% times 1.5. So we'd actually get more than the full amount of the increase of the market.
Okay. What to determine how much the capital? Okay. So I was gonna say, how do I get it?
All right, we can go to page, look,
56.
we can go to page 156, please. My understanding was we asked about prices so that we could then determine how many we wanted to buy. This indicates that we're able to buy 3. And I'm not sure why we're only able to buy 3, or we're able only to buy 3.
So our Public Works Director, Mr. Young, has done a lot of research on this. I'd like to invite him to comment on it.
So initially, a couple of meetings back, we thought we might have to ask for capital to do this. After further analysis, we determined we could buy 2 signs with our existing operating budget. We have 2 signs currently in Granville Ferry. One is working, and you'll see it on the road right now, working. The other one has a fault in it, and we're taking that to TIR's depot in Sackville, where they'll do an assessment for us on it and for repair. And we figured then one more set would get us going, and we would buy that off with budget in-house, meaning our existing operating budget, and start moving those throughout the county. From that point then...
Excuse me, are you talking about the ones on wheels or the ones on the pole?
The ones on the poles. The one on wheels that we had up at West Paradise, I'm not sure if that ever operated for the county or not, but I got them to break it down, we set it up. It operated on a test mode where the lights would come on and numbers would come up, but when we converted it to the operating mode, it wouldn't pick up any vehicles. So, talking with the experts in TIR, that one person, all they do is work on these signs, said it sounds like your radar sensor is out, which actually picks up vehicles. But they will do an assessment for us on that. We got the other side out of Granville Ferry and put that up on a pole in Granville Ferry where pressure was, the public asked for some speed signs to go on. And the other 2 speed signs that we're just waiting for a second price to come in. We anticipated going down towards the Bear River area initially, and then start moving them throughout the county and take the information off the signs and do information reports back to council as we get that information. So we determined in-house that we didn't need to come back and ask council for capital money to buy signs. And I talked to TIR, and between our 4 signs and our signs in Bridgetown and their signs, we should be able to get a good handle on what's happening in the county. So the need to buy more signs, I don't think is required at this point in time.
Councilor Carroll?
The ones we put on the poles, they're still removable. You transfer to another spot.
Yeah, that's correct. The one that we put at Granville Ferry is actually on a sign pole. We didn't put it on a telephone pole or anything like that because they're too far removed from the road. So we put it out on a sign pole. We can just pull out and grab it.
Councilor Barker?
Our motion was to 2 signs, the Granville Ferry and 1 for Church Street in Bridgetown. It wasn't indicated to be floaters. So that's a concern that I'm hearing that I think that we're not kind of going against that for the motion. it's worth to take those floating, and it can be, if we want floaters, can we have the ones in Grand Fair, which is a regular ongoing problem, and Church Street, and extra ones that we get to be floated.
Where, Councilor Rico, where do I find that motion? Would it be in the minutes?
And it would have to be back,
Yeah, I don't recall.
however, when we call it.
That was
I think it was, Board Parish motion, suggested that in terms of motion. I can't remember.
Is there anyone who would have discuss
Thank you so much.
Wait, please, hold it.
Thank you so much. Warden Parrish did make a motion, because remember when we talked about that, he said, well, I have a motion written up here. And it was the last council.
And I put an amendment to the motion.
Yeah.
Which made it far less specific than it was.
Yes.
I think my amendment said, in effect it said, we don't want this, what we want to know is the cost.
Okay, maybe I'm not confused.
That's up to you.
I guess I'd like your motion before I comment further, but
If you can find the date for us or tell us what meeting it was, we'll certainly look it up.
Yeah, but
that was it.
All right, Councilor
the bottom line to this is that we are going to be purchasing, there's money enough there to purchase 2 more as is that we put in the budget. That's the basis. That's the important part.
As long as we can get them.
All right. Please.
With inviting Mr. Young again, he has another comment.
So on Church Street, we already have 2 signs of Bridgetown now, so that would be 3 signs operating in Bridgetown. On Bridgetown, one weekend, just the one, so they just one there.
One on the west side.
Okay. But we did get the crosswalk signs now on Church Street are up and running, and they should be operating and flashing. So that will itself slow traffic down. Okay? We just finished putting those up this week.
Okay,
And if I can add just one.
please.
Thank you so much. They make a difference. They make a difference in Granville. I've noticed a big difference since that sign's been up here just about a week. Not only does it slow me down when I'm not paying attention, I'm not a fast driver, but it will slow me down. But I've noticed people see that when it flashes and slow down. Just saying.
All right, page 158, which is really interesting. Page 158. And I've been told that down at the bottom where it said the plan is 247 pages, that number has been underestimated and exceeded. I'm a firm believer in the principle that the more you write, the more you have to write. It appears as if it's in this. Okay? Fine. Page 160. Waste management. Councilor Gunn.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to see this. I've had people approaching me lately, not just from my district, but from other districts as well, on their compost cart, the big split down through the middle, the absence of a top, and so on. Some of these need to be replaced. Thank you.
Page 162, please. Finance Department December update.
I did have a comment on the other one.
All right.
Sorry. In the discussion part, that after discussions with Valley Waste, it was determined that the option existed for the municipality to purchase 240-liter carts from their inventory. Is it allowed for me to ask what price would they be charging for these 240-liter carts? Mr. Young?
Through the order. No, compost carts.
I was just wondering if we have any knowledge of the price of Valley Waste for each
Yeah,
cart?
they're $79 each. I have a copy of their price from the supplier, which is IPL out of Montreal.
They're $79 each?
$79 each, so net to us is $82.52. And with the $20,000 you gave me, we could probably get 240 carts. We'll start with, all they could give us right now is 200, and we'll get more. And then as I explained to you about the carts a few meetings back, on the capital budget every year, we'll have to replace them with quite a few carts. Upwards of 1,000, because I think we're in need, well, probably 400 or 500. I think we're in need of about 400 or 500 right now.
Thank you.
Councillor Crouch.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that, I'm thinking of a particular constituent of mine who I'll be in touch with this week. Should I give her your name to be put on a list? Okay, thank you, Mr. Young. I appreciate that. I'll be in touch with her this week.
Councillor Gunn, please.
Thank you. There was mention here a few weeks ago about that the compost carts we used to have that are all up in back of the Lawrencetown Waste Station. And I do wonder if our Director of Works, has inquired with Valley Waste that we might be able to get some of those, use some of those back.
Some of those were sold.
I'm asking.
The carts, actually, we did ask when interim CEO and I went out to meet with Valley Waste. We asked about those carts. They've been using those carts.
Okay.
So what's left in the field there are ones that they have to dispose of.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I.
Councillor Allmeyer.
Thank you. So in the background, the last two words, suitable carts, are they actually compost carts this time?
Well, it's funny you asked that question because I was adamant about compost carts. They've come to me, Valley Waste, interim CEO and I were up there, and they have found problems with some of the compost cart designs. So the carts that they're ordering in now are green carts, but they don't have holes.
Yeah. We make our own.
We could drill our own holes, especially in the bottom, because I've talked to EFR about handling them, and they just get full at certain times of the year. There'd be a lot of liquid in them, and typically compost carts have drains in the bottom and stuff. But they were just running into problems with them and the handling of them, so they just got out of them altogether.
Deputy Warden.
I'm happy for Councilor LeBlanc's clarification there. I've got that as 200,000 liter carts. That's confusing. More seriously, this sounds like we have a productive relationship with Valley Waste.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan.
So, did I hear you say that the carts are going to be green? Okay, just so, when we get calls that we can just say, yes, the green carts are now ours. The replacements.
Where I'm from, I've been on a program for 4 years. Universal compost color for carts. Universal is green.
Okay, because we have the gray ones now, and I'm just...
Well, and, I don't want to get into the two-cart system, but if we get through and over time replace all green carts, and if there's gray carts available, we could use the gray carts for waste. Instead of leaving them on the side of the road for animals to get into and everything like that. Just have compost in bags, or not compost, but recyclables in bags and stuff.
Okay, because I know we're going to get that question from the residents, so I just want to clarify
We're
that.
slowly changing over to green bin.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Blunt.
I have started a whole survey of questions, so I'm going to end with my question with those 200 carts will belong to County of Annapolis after they are paid for? Thank you.
And they're gonna be green.
I don't care what color they are. They could be red, fire engine red.
All right. Thank you. I guess we're back to the financial update. Page 162. And I guess we can move to 165, the variance report, please.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were moving ahead so fast. Just a question regarding 163, the software incentive. Is there a timeline on that as to when that will be completed?
Sorry, just repeat that. I missed it. Could you just be repeated? What's the timeline for it?
Yeah.
The standard operating procedure?
No, the software initiative.
We don't currently have a timeline right now. We are putting some things together. We anticipated bringing an update in December. So we have a lot of items on the list right now, and we're kind of focused on financial statements and getting this variance report out. So it's kind of pushed to January, but early in the next year, it would be nice to, whether it's new software or fixing up our software so that it works for us and we're not working for our software, that would be nice to go live April 1st of the following fiscal period, next week, beginning of the fiscal year.
All right, the variance report, 165. Deputy Warden.
When I first came to office, we had a variance report. I spent several hours with Sheridan deliberating through that report, trying to figure out what lines meant and what was included in lines and things like that. And I must say that this format is a dramatic improvement from what I've had in the past. I would like to thank staff for their effort. I know this has been manual work for them, and I was not expecting to see it.
Thank you. Councilor Cotw.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo, I didn't spend time with Councilor Sheridan going over variance reports. For the first time I saw anything to do with them, I thought, what does this all entail? This is much more concise, easy to find, and the numbers were better than I had hoped for. So thank you very much.
I did have a question, but I can't find my question.
Question is, I don't have one.
All right, unless there's strong objections, I think we should pause for lunch and come back at, is 1:30 that time?
Yep.
We are now resuming our committee of the whole session, and the clerk has some words for us.
Yes, so we were talking earlier, and there was a motion put on the floor. It was about our S4 local improvement charges bylaw. So a motion was moved and seconded to give first reading, and then there was a motion to table. So when you table a motion, it stops right there. There's nothing else done with it at that point. If that was council's intention, that's okay. I just wanted to bring it up, that if really what you wanted to happen was for it to be referred to a working group or to a workshop, that's what you need for staff to be able to present it in a different format. So I just wanted to bring that up. So if it's tabled, it stops right now until someone lifts it from the table within 3 months.
Can I add that to the agenda? How do we do that properly?
So you can amend the order of the day to reconsider that motion to table, or you can with the,
It's supposed to be up to us.
that's up to the chair.
Or you can wait and lift it on the table next month.
And then you would have to make a decision what you want done with it next month. So if you lift it from the table and then you want staff to do something, at that time you could lift it from the table and,
But if we did something now, then allows some work to be done.
yes.
You were talking about a working group, is what I heard when you.
Let's all just start talking.
So I just wanted to point that out, what the ramifications of tabling a motion are, if that wasn't what the intent was. I just wanted to point it out.
I'm in the order of the day.
Okay, hold on, Councillor Sherry.
So could it be as such of like a presentation to council, something that we would understand more that maybe Councillor Bardo would like?
Sorry, what we're talking about is what is and will happen to the motion to table. And if we do nothing, we will just sail off into the wild blue yonder forever. No, I know, that's what it is. Councillor Bartow, it was your motion. Would you like to think about it and come back to committee of the whole? Would you like us to rescind the motion?
The reason for it was to not, we couldn't have first reading on something we didn't understand. There's too many problems to discuss that we'd be here all day doing. So maybe, I guess what I was trying to do, and the discussions afterwards was, instead of tabling it, would be refer it back to a working group. Again, that we could review it in its entirety as a separate matter, not as a committee or council venue. So could I, at this point, make a motion to get some, I don't have to rescind that one, I'll just say that bring it back and refer it to a working group.
You can reconsider the motion to table.
Reconsider the motion to table. Okay, thank you. I would do that.
Yes, and I will.
You gotta use this hand.
Is there a seconder?
Well, you're gonna have something to say, but yeah, I'll second it.
Councillor Dunn?
But I have
Discussion.
something to say. Thank you. I would have thought that we would have changed the order of the day at this back on the agenda. But at the end of the day, dealt with it, then brought it back, and then put a motion to refer it to a special committee as a whole. Thank you.
But I brought it up, I say that, as a matter of process.
So is there discussion on the motion that is on the floor to rescind? Reconsider the motion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Now, okay, the next step.
What is it you would like to do? So there's a motion on the floor. That leaves a motion on the floor. Let me just, regarding the S4 local improvement charges bylaw that was moved and seconded to give it first reading.
I would move
Okay.
To refer to a workshop.
Hold on, there's been a point of order.
I need to reconsider your motion to table.
Yes,
You're not reconsidering the S4 bylaw.
right. So rather than making a motion to table, the councillor is trying to decide what motion it is he'd like to do.
We are reconsidering the motion to table. That is the motion.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
We just voted.
No, we voted on the motion to reconsider.
So now you're
Okay,
reconsidering.
now you're reconsidering. Okay. Councilor Barton?
I would make a motion to refer this item to a working group to review in its entirety for to bring it back to the committee at a later date. Yeah, we want to say.
No, hold it. You're drafting the motion.
Yeah. I'm just taking a pause on the draft. That was it, but I was just asking.
No. We now have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Second? Need a seconder for that motion. Councilor Prout. Discussion. Councilor Barton?
Would it be appropriate to put a date on it? That it would be brought back to committee?
If you wish to amend your motion, you can do that now.
I guess I was trying to do that before. It's in the process of developing that motion. Then you kind of said, well, it's a motion. There's a requirement motion at that point. But now that it's a motion on the floor, we all have to do
an amendment. Yes.
Which was.
You could do a friendly amendment if we move in second. Practice in this room has been to use that, and it's. You are the chair.
All right, let's figure out where we are, and then we can figure out where we want to go. Councilor Barton is going to consider an amendment to the motion.
How much time do we need to pull that together? January committee all too soon.
Yes.
Perhaps February? Just keep it in mind in January, just for everybody's knowledge. I'll be away for a week. I'd like to be on that committee. So, February would be the earliest. Hope we have enough time for the committee to get together. And then we got to step and shoot on that committee.
So is that your amendment?
Not exactly. Just trying to figure out how to establish a committee.
No.
It's weird.
No.
You know what?
Just hold on, or we are going to go nowhere. We have a motion on the floor. You indicated you would like to add something to it. You can do that by way of an amendment. So do you wish to amend the motion on the floor?
Yeah.
Thank you. And your
And I
amendment
will,
is?
without being specific, that apparently you don't like, I'll say to establish a committee that will review this along with staff and bring back to the committee the whole in favor. Does that sound good?
So the motion on the floor is to refer the S4 local improvement bylaw document to a working group to review it in its entirety to bring back to committee the whole at a later date. Is your amendment
Change
to
the
specify to February committee of the whole? Thank you. You'll deal with the group after.
Afterwards, okay. Let's just try to make it all clear.
So right now, the amendment on the floor was moved by Councilor Farrell to amend the motion by specifying February committee.
We need a seconder for the amendment. Councilor Longmire. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor?
No, that's a discussion. Sorry, sir.
Please.
It was pretty quick there. The problem with the group that I see is that all council should be interested in this and not just come back from a group I mean, this is a big thing for our county. We're talking about charging people for their frontage and all kinds of things in here. This is a big thing, and I believe that this should be done by a special committee of the whole and gone over, and with staff, and a special committee of the whole and gone over by staff, because this is a big deal for the county. This is a big charge that we're talking about for people, and I think that all council should be involved in it. Thank you.
Further discussion. I'd like to say that I agree with Councillor Gunn in a number of ways, both with regard to the enormity and with the setting up of the structure that will implement the motion. As a matter of principle, I am not in favor of council staff committees. The Chief Administrative Officer has special responsibilities. The council has special responsibilities. And I don't want us doing the job of staff, and I don't want staff doing our job. I'm in favor of what Councillor Gunn just said. Thank you. Further discussion. All right, we are voting on
Amending the motion by specifying February committee of the whole.
all in favor.
Yes.
Against?
No.
3 against. Now we move to the motion. Deputy Warden?
I would like to make an amendment that it be a committee and not a working group.
And the reason is,
For exactly what Councillor Gunn has articulated, that this should be a public conversation. Working groups are not public and committees are.
so you're submitting, you're going to move an amendment and strike the word
Working group?
and insert the word committee. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Clarification, do you mean a special committee of the whole?
No, I mean a committee.
No, he needs a committee.
Special committee of the whole.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Gunn. Discussion on that amendment. Councillor Sherry.
Just clarity on the committee. Is this the committee, like we would have a special committee of the whole for all of us to discuss? Is this similar to what you're referring to as a committee?
Deputy Warden, it's your
No, it is not. In my view, a special committee of the whole, changing the functional structure of that amendment and this motion would not be allowed. So this is working group committees where we're sending it to. If we were going to have a special committee of the whole about it, that would be a separate motion.
Excuse me, are we sending it to a committee or a working group? You just said both.
To a committee. The amendment, the vote was for committee. Sorry.
So is the committee similar to a special working group that you're referring to?
It is a committee like any of our committees, comprises a number of councillors, and
So it's all of council?
it is advertised, and notice is required to give the meetings, and the public is allowed to come and watch. Working groups are internal and do not have these.
Not as formal, the working groups.
Further,
May I ask you a question? So your idea that this is still just a small portion of council?
Yes.
further, Councillor Blanc?
Specifically, it's more or less an ad hoc committee.
No, specifically, it is a committee.
Oh, yes. Short term.
Well, the deputy warden has said a committee. I'm sure if he wanted to say ad hoc committee, he would have said ad hoc committee.
All right.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the amendment? One, two, Opposed? The amendment is defeated, and we now return to the main motion. Is there further discussion on the main motion? Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Motion is to refer the S4 document, I'm sorry, I haven't been able to scroll back and get new local improvements bylaw, to a working group to review in its entirety to bring back to February committee of the whole.
Further discussion? Councillor Cotw.
I know that the last motion failed, or the last attempt to add a part to that motion, but I do feel that this is quite a bylaw, and I think that our citizens should be allowed to put input in if someone have ideas, concerns. I have ideas and concerns myself, and is it a waste of time sending it back to staff if at a working group if all council's not going to be able to participate? Is it going to come back in February and be sent right back to a full discussion that we have to set a day because we'll be here for the whole day in February on that one bylaw? That's what I would be afraid of, because
I agree.
I do not agree with putting punishment on people just because of the way they live. If someone moves next door to me and builds $1 million mansion, does that mean that my place has to become the same sort of identity? No. And that's the problem I have with it, is that everyone has their own idea about how their property should look. Just because I don't put flowers on my front yard doesn't mean that I'm less of a person that has a beautiful rose garden. So that bylaw covers a lot of stuff that gives authority, once it's passed, that somebody within our regime can put fines, pressure on people, and everything else. And I do not live in a dictator world. I live by the law of the land, my land. So I'm with my gut. I think that it should be a full discussion of council, and so either a new motion after this be put on the plate that we bring it to a special committee of the whole and we have a half a day to discuss it.
Let's deal with this one first.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? None. All against? 10. The motion is defeated. Councillor Connell, would you like the floor?
I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we set a special committee of the whole date to discuss the
S4 local improvements proposed
bylaw.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Dunn. Discussion on the motion. The motion is to establish. All in favor? The motion is carried. Do you have a next step in mind, Councillor Connell?
I would think that if we were looking at coming back in February, we should try to set a date for sometime in February for maybe the whole.
Do we want to set that now or wait till next week and we've had a chance to think about it? Or how would you like to do it?
I'd like to wait until after Christmas actually and see who's going to be available in the month of February.
Is that okay? So there's no motion being entered. There's no motion on the floor. There's no discussion. We'll move to our next item. Thank you. Page 172.
Your CEO report.
Okay.
5.2.
Okay, CAO report, sorry.
Terrific, thank you. So we have a couple upcoming things I wanted to review. So you're going to see the updated strategic plan at another working meeting next week. So this time it will take into account your feedback from your last go at it, and it's going to be more decorated and formatted in a more easy to see form. So that'll be a good opportunity for you to be able to see how it's shaping up and give your input. And we have also on the topic of consulting projects, we have the HR consulting project, looking at our job descriptions, etc. We're expecting that to be actively moving in January with our HR team working with the consultant, and I'll be providing you with a lot of updates. And obviously it will be of interest to this council to closely look at as we get towards that time. So we'll keep you actively updated on the work as we go. In my last update in November, I promised you that I was going to be having a few important meetings, so I wanted to update you on those. We've already mentioned today that Mr. Young and I went to visit Valley Waste, and I really wanted to thank them here publicly for that tour. Beautiful, very well-run facility, people that really care about what they do. Huge interest on their part in being leading edge and thinking about handling of complex materials, doing the best recycling, issues like that. It was a very productive and interesting tour, and the goodwill from them towards Annapolis County was amazing. I really want to thank them for the visit, and as we've commented, it's already led to some productive ability for us to work with them a few things, including looking at supplies for our recycle bins. I'd also mentioned that we were going to be hosting a representative from the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Fund. So we had that meeting here. It was a very useful meeting to talk about funding that we can get from that group. Their main source of funding is the Innovative Communities Fund that'll fund 50% of projects. And that fund really focuses on if we want to do something that has an economic development focus. So if we were trying to help businesses create new jobs, that kind of focus. I really want to thank that group for coming to speak to us. I think it's really important that we have a really good partnership with all major funding sources, and we understand them. We understand what their objectives are so that we can make sure that municipal projects and municipal applications have the best chance of being approved and being successful. And lastly, I really want to take a moment and thank a lot of our staff. A lot of you were aware of sort of the official opening of Queen Street and a lot of celebrations on December 2nd. And I really want to take a minute to thank our staff. We have an amazing local Chamber of Commerce that came up with for the most part, for the idea for a lot of the public events there. But I really want to mention and thank a lot of our team members who did a huge amount of work. When there's large public events, we tend to contribute an enormous amount of support and expertise and promotion of our municipality and promotion of the great reopening of that redeveloped street. So I really want to thank Amanda Lewis, who did a lot of work to sort of set the stage. She emceed the ribbon cutting. She worked with the province and other speakers to have them here, to invite the province as a funding partner. Brian Ord, Deb Ryan, Nancy Whitman did a great deal of work to work with the Chamber of Commerce, support them, help them plan, and in particular, we did a lot of research and helped them plan some of their major events, including their parade. Nadine McCormick huge amount of public communication, supporting our speakers, supporting our warden and other speakers at the event, a lot of press releases. And I really want to thank our public works team, particularly Mark Coles, Charles Grant, Amy Brown, who did a lot of physical work on site to help, create street barricades, move things around. And I really think it was worth taking the time here at a public meeting to thank our staff and point out how much they do and how much they contribute to the community. I don't think we always realize that. So I really want to thank that group of people for that huge amount of work and an incredibly diverse amount of work that made that recreation, municipal promotion, we could give the event a lot of great names, but those people really did a lot to make it happen, so I wanted to thank them.
Any comments on the CEO report?
Comments?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the CAO for that report, and I would actually give our municipal staff an applause.
Has there been a date established for the group? Did you not do your first item?
At our council meeting. And the update on the strategic plan, that'll be at the tail end of the council meeting on the 20th.
Okay.
All right. Now we can move to 6
Recommendation.
How do you expect me to see you when you're sitting right in front of me?
I'm not sure. I'll wear something a little brighter next time. Deputy Warden. Yeah. I'll give you a few pages of update on our gas tax training from municipal affairs.
This was a terrific suggestion from Councillor Connell that the province could do a presentation to us on gas tax management. And I know that's the old term. It's got a new term, but I'll call it gas tax for convenience and recognition at the moment. They offered to make a presentation to us on how we can work with villages and how we can review village requests for funding. That's the general topic. We want to get that presented to us and hopefully our one village within Lawrencetown. And I think that can be an amazing tool for the future for giving us a really solid plan for how we would handle gas tax projects and how the village could share in gas tax funding that's collected by the county and that they receive a share of. Right now, we don't have an exact process for doing that, but the province can, in that presentation, can give us some information, and we also want to look at a few other municipalities that have a process for an agreement with their villages. So that's the purpose of that. Now, the timing of that is going to be mid to late January. That's when the province is available to us to put something together. So I don't have an exact date. I just have a range for those couple of weeks.
Thank you. Anything further to see Councilman?
Well, I was talking to Jason Hahn yesterday, and that was one of the questions I asked him, and he said it was absolutely on their end that they couldn't make days work because of vacations between there's three individuals from that committee or that group that's going to do the project or the presentation to us. And so he's hoping to see us in the new year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further to the CAO? Thank you. 6.1, Accessibility Advisory Committee Recommendation.
I move that municipal council adopt the inclusive best practices and public participation consultation as listed.
Seconder. Councilor Longmire. Discussion. Councilor Collins.
I have some concerns about the inclusive best practices. First of all, is there a deadline that all facilities within the county have to be fully implemented with accessibilities.
My understanding it's 2030.
So if we accept this recommendation, we're putting community halls, we're putting places within our community that we ask to have meetings at a standstill. So when I ask if something's done in my community, it's in Fort George, and they don't meet this criteria, all of a sudden, under our new policy, we'd have to look for another place. So we went around our county, and the only place was in Bridgetown to have a meeting for Port George. Because of these regulations or policies we are putting in place long before the accessibility's done, then my community's going to lose. So I'm going to vote against this. This is way putting the cart ahead of the horse. If all of our facilities in our county have the right to not have it finished to 2030, which I spoke to the building inspector on my way in today, and there's a little bit of conflict between the building code and the accessibility thing, because I have a gentleman that's been hounding the head off of me about accessibility, and we're allowing facilities, brand new facilities, to be opened that don't meet the accessibility. But if that brand new facility even has to 2030 to put a guardrail up, to put a post up with parking on it, things that aren't happening right now, then we're crippling some areas in our county by adopting this policy. I will not be voting for this policy. I feel it's way ahead of the curve, way ahead of my horse.
Thank you. My understanding is that if council adopts this, it's included in the policy.
Yes, thank you, Board. Yeah, I'd like to.
Council asked the accessibility committee to make some recommendations regarding, it doesn't go in a policy, no, it's just a best practice. So best practice are simply this: when planning or recreation or any one council meetings are going to hold meetings across the county, they just look at these to be considered. If you're going into a region and none of the facilities at this point in time don't have those facilities for accessibility, you still have your meeting. But whenever you can, these are the best practices that we'd ask you to adhere to. A lot of them were already in the plan that you already approved, which is the accessibility plan back in February, but, and some of them are new because you asked us to reconsider this. So simply, they don't go into your policy. They just become a best practice for when you're having public meetings in regards to this. So again, you're right. Not all our facilities are accessible, and however, communities are stepping up, and they have. If you look at Clements and many other ones, and there's funding to do that. So over time, by 2030, the province would like governments, for sure, and they're still going to work for community. They're still going to work for businesses, and they're still going to go. But they have to start somewhere. So that was the philosophy behind it.
So I would like the inclusive taken out of that. Best practices, if it's achievable, yes. But when you put inclusive in there, to me, that means that it should be done. And we're allowing facilities, brand new facilities, to be open today in our county that does not meet up 100% of accessibility. So to go inclusive means all. So I could vote for best practices, but to make it inclusive, I'm not supporting it.
Thank you. Further comments? Deputy Warden?
I'm very interested in what Councillor Connell brought up here. The best practice part I thought would be what we try to attain and what we try and do. And it's, I'd read it as a
a wish list for what we want our community facilities to do when we go into communities. I completely understand how Mr. Councilor Cotw has read it this way, especially with inclusive in front of best practices. The adopt best practices in inclusive public participation, just like a consultation, is probably a little more clear. I'm not one to vote against it for that simple grammatical reason, but I understand his concerns. Thank you. Councilor Longmire?
Thank you. Yes, and so I'm not going to reiterate what the other councillors have, and the deputy warden has just spoke, but the inclusive piece there was a bit problematic for me, because I wouldn't want it to put out any limitations. I would want it to be an exclusive list, because there's going to be an endless list of things that might have to be achieved in order for places like Councilor Cotw has said. We don't want to put limitations on halls and communities that cannot, provide us with all of this. If they can provide us with some, so the best practice, right? And that's what we should be trying to achieve.
Thank you.
Yes, in the recommendation, it says that municipal council adopt. That adopt word is causing me some problem, and I would suggest that it be changed to consider.
Are you submitting an amendment?
That's correct, yeah, if I can make that amendment.
To change adopt, to delete adopt, insert consider. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Right here.
Councilor Gunn. Comments? Councilor Coleman.
Would the mover consider best practices?
Consider best.
Oh, yes. I will change my amendment to that.
To what?
It would be consider best practices, not adopt the inclusive best practices.
So you're also removing inclusive?
Yes.
Still not right.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I believe the word inclusive is inclusive of all disabilities.
Yes,
It's inclusive for the type of typeface we use. It's for people who are with sight issues. It's inclusive of all disabilities. That's what the inclusive is about, not about
That's
the
not what it
facility.
says.
And so I'm trying to get so we're amending the motion to remove the word adopt and inclusive. And insert consider.
Could you read that, please?
Maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just delete it there. So it was moved and seconded to amend the motion to remove the word adopt and the word inclusive and change that to consider. So that would be that municipal council consider best practices in public participation.
Councilor Longmire, did you wish to finish?
Yes, thank you. So as I read down through inclusivity on 172, I think I was seeing it as not just the person with a said disability, but rather the things we need to do to provide the proper support. So when I saw the inclusive best practice, I was basically seeing it through the lens of the things we must do rather than the person. So that's the reason why I would have, that I was challenged with the word inclusive. So, Carolyn helped me
see that. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion as amended?
This is on the amendment.
Yes. Put the cart before the ox.
That municipal council considers best practice.
All in favor?
That's not right.
Against? The amendment is carried. The question now is on the main motion. Deputy Warden.
Let's propose a further amendment and reinsert inclusive between in and public.
Is there a seconder for that amendment?
Repeat the amendment.
Insert inclusive so that it reads, the municipal council consider best practices in inclusive public participation consultation as listed.
Is there a seconder for that amendment?
Oh, we're almost there.
Councillor Crowe, seconds. Discussion. Councillor Hudson.
Yes, I would be voting against that amendment, simply the fact that I think all public meetings should be inclusive. Should be.
Fair. Public meeting. Public meeting.
But
All our meetings should be inclusive of everyone.
Further discussion? Deputy Warden.
I completely agree with Councillor Hudson, and that this motion is intended to adopt considerations so that everybody is included by way of access. The built environment in paragraph 1 under built environment, so it says the whole journey approach. This means that, like, it says very succinctly in this paragraph, a single barrier can stop access to a whole ring of accessible barriers, because it only takes one of them to stop. If you've got 10 obstacles to go by, you need to be able to get by all of them. You need one obstacle to stop. That paragraph says it much better than I do. And because being inclusive is the entire point of this motion. So I completely agree. I mean, I think that with Councillor Hudson's comments, that yes, every meeting should be inclusive, and this is what we're going to do to make it inclusive.
Thank you. Councillor Larimer.
Thank you. So I would go back and revisit that, because it really, where inclusive originally sits before the words best practice is really the better grammatical.
yes.
Yeah, it's because after the definition of what inclusive means, because it's a new buzzword, let's call it, right? It doesn't make sense to put it after in.
All right, so you're indicating you would not vote for the amendment.
No, that's okay.
All right. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? The amendment is not carried. And we are now back to the motion?
Yes,
Did you read the motion again?
in just a moment. I see 2 places on the page at the same time. I believe where the motion ended up is that municipal council consider the inclusive best practices
and public participation and consultation is listed.
Didn't we take inclusive out?
Took inclusive out.
We took inclusive out.
Yes. Yeah. That municipal council consider the best practices in public participation consultation is listed.
Discussion.
It's not.
Deputy Warden? Functionally, have we changed happy for glad to quote somebody I know well? Further discussion? Councilor Sheridan?
So I'm just gonna throw this out there, would it be easier if we just, instead of as listed, put in as advised or from the accessibility committee, as recommended from the accessibility committee? Would that make more sense? If we're not using the word inclusive.
Is that an amendment?
No, I'm just thinking out loud, seeing what others may think.
I think.
Councilor Long?
Sorry. Thank you. I really believe now that the definition to what inclusive is the very reason why it should remain where it should, where it is.
I'd like to say, I think not all of us agree one with the other on the meaning of inclusive. It's my understanding that if the government holds to its position by 2030, unless there are specific grandfather clauses, all of our community centers will have to be inclusive. And just to say that.
If I might, the intent of the committee when we're working through this is inclusive is a word that's just used within the accessibility directorate and other agencies when they're doing accessibility, so that it will be inclusive of people with accessibilities, whether you have a hearing disability, a seeing disability, or you have a system and what have you. So that is the intent for the word inclusive. If you decide to go with best practice, that will work too, but it was never meant that to exclude us having a meeting in a community hall. We would make arrangements for that in some way.
Councilor Connor?
But under the inclusive best practices built environment, to me, it says it very clearly. When selecting a facility, look for the following: accessible signage and parking area, accessible parking space, accessible pathway to facility. My Port George Community Hall and my fire department in Margarettsville, it's a dirt parking lot. They have no lines drawn, no parking area identified as accessibility. So there's work to be done. That's what I'm saying. But it says right here, when selecting a facility for the following, here's what you're going to be looking for. And I'm saying is that if my community hall in Port George has to 2030 to put lines on the parking lot and identify where the handicap parking is, then why are we making it in a motion to use this as best practices when we're not even there yet? Because to me, inclusive means all. I understand it's all disabilities, but it also means all the recommendations that are under what the committee has said to look for. And again, a year's time, if we're going to pave the parking lot in Port George in 2 years' time and we're trying to fundraise for the money, we may not have any identification of signage for handicap parking for 2 years. And we don't have to till 2030. But I can tell you, if I'm not even a counselor and I saw this come up on an agenda, and a hall was denied because of the not having the accessibilities in place before 2030, you'll hear from me. It's not right. We're not there yet.
Tell me about it.
I'm listening to council's ideas and concerns, and I think there is actually broad acceptance of the idea. Let's do something to support accessibility. But do you want us to take this back for a month and rework it, put some definitions in here, rework the motion a bit? Is that an easier solution for you?
Motion on the table.
Ma'am?
Councilor Vaughn?
I agree with that statement that the CAO has just presented, because all I keep thinking is when we keep adding stuff in, because we need to come to this point. It doesn't matter what year it is, we have to provide all these things. So if we do it now, I was thinking, instead of consider, I was thinking of provide the best we can to the inclusive best practices, or implement to the best of our ability. We can't provide this next week, but the minute we state this, we have to do the provision next week. So to me, I think we need these words in the front that says, we will try to provide these to the best of our ability, but we can't do it tomorrow. But we'll chop down each list so it doesn't take all of our community centers out, or a lot of other places. So yes, I suggest that we send it back to, as the CAO has indicated, and maybe with all the information.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes, but I agree that would be okay.
Well, I don't know if this be an amendment to that motion or not, but the word inclusive seems to be the word that's holding us up here. And I guess I would make a motion to strike that word and in its place put accessibility best practices.
That would work.
In public. Yeah. That way then we're getting that accessibility word out of there. And I think it makes it more clearer if you say accessibility best practice.
So inclusive is already taken out.
Okay, but I want to, yeah.
So you want to insert?
I want to insert accessibility best practices.
Is there a seconder for that amendment? So long discussion on the amendment. And we're really the third time around the track. Councilor Hall.
That still doesn't, I'm voting against it. I think it should go back, take into account that this does not come into effect until 2030, and that some community halls will not be up to that. And there should be no community hall or any place in our community that we decide to hold a meeting because all of a sudden we're tied into doing something with accessibility.
Thank you.
We do have to look at accessibility over the next few years to 2030 to try to bring, if the province holds their foot to the fire that everything's going to be done by 2030, we have to come up with help to community halls, help to areas that, this is, it's going to be hopefully for tourism and stuff like that. We have lighthouses, we have museums, we got funding to raise and find in our communities all throughout to be able to fall into place by 2030. And like I said, we also have been opening brand new facilities in our county that don't meet the criteria of 100% accessibility.
Thank you. Did we get a seconder?
Councilor Longmire seconded.
Councilor Longmire seconded. So our discussion now is on the amendment. Do you want or do you not want the word accessibility in that motion? Let's just try to concentrate on that. Councillor Long.
Either word means the same thing, so therefore I'd rather go with the CAO's comment.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire.
I was fine with the inclusive.
Thank you, Councillor Crouch.
Thank you. I take Councillor Connor's comments to heart, but part of me is wondering, or feeling, we can't leave it all till 2029, 30. I think it's a process. I think there are people out there that we all know of a number of them, if we stop and think, who for whatever, I use the word disability, it's not, I'm trying to think of a better one, who are not able to access places. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere. That's my thought. We have to, there are a lot of halls. We all have them in our districts that we need to make a number of steps between now and 2030. It's not going to happen in our upcoming calendar year, but we have to take steps to move in that direction. That's my belief. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheridan.
I was just going to agree with Councillor Cotw and LeBlanc that the words mean the same, and I would support taking it back to staff and maybe coming up with something that, yes, we have to move forward, but something that's flexible, that we can still use our regular homes.
Sorry, we're talking
Okay. And that's
All right.
I'll leave it at that.
All right. The voting is on the word accessible. All those in favor?
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Somebody's missing.
No, I have my hand up.
Okay. All right. The motion is defeated. The vote is on the main motion. All those in favor, please.
What's the main
Could we
motion?
hear the main motion?
That municipal council consider the best practices in public participation consultation as listed.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, accessibility, Councillor, we just voted on that,
It went
joining that in.
And the motion was
Oh, that, okay, I'm sorry, my mistake, yeah. That's fine.
All right. All those in favor? 1. Opposed? The motion is defeated. Now, I want to say something, and I've fallen down a little bit here. The motion was that municipal council refer AM 1.3.2 public participation policy to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for a report back. So we didn't ask for any recommendations. We asked for a report. I am not part of the Accessibility Committee. And I'm just wondering what we would have been doing for the last hour if we were told the committee had a meeting and had nothing to report. In essence, that's what's happened.
It's not saying that. In the second paragraph that you're reading, the committee reviewed the policy and have recommended the following best practices.
Oh, yeah, but we didn't ask them to do that. We asked them to, we asked them for a report.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't ask them to, anyway.
Okay.
All right. So, Councillor Connell.
I'd like to make a motion that we send it back to staff to come back with an updated report.
On what?
On the participation of accessibility to areas of our county, because it's just not community halls. Stages, all kinds of things.
Okay, thank you. CL, is any of this not included in the plan?
Yes, it is. A lot of this is taken right out of the plan.
So why are we dealing with the policy and not the plan?
I was given a direction that council wanted us to review the policy that was presented and approved by the planning folks and to take a look at it and come up with a report. So the committee did the best job in terms of what we anticipated, thought that we wanted, and we brought back some things that was in the plan and making some recommendations. So really, they're just providing, it was trying to be a role model in terms of going forward, in terms of if we are having meetings up there, it doesn't matter what it would be, that we would follow some of these kinds of basic things so everyone could be included in taking part in a recreation program, to go to a meeting and what have you. Because if you can't get into a facility, it's not accessible, they can't take part. So it's not saying, it's even not saying in there that, for example, if you're going to have a meeting at a place and someone can't attend, then you can reach out to them and say, we'll supply one-on-one interview with you, or we'll do a survey with you. So what we're just basically saying, to think about all the people out there that normally can't get to a meeting because of their disability or mobility issue. So it was never intent to not say that you can't rent a community hall ever. Most of them, by the way, are coming up to standards, and they're constantly asking for advice on what else they can do to improve it. So it's an educational process, and we're moving forward in that regard. So it was just a way that we could be probably leaders in terms of providing some guidelines to say that these are the kinds of things we would consider.
Thank you.
Consider only.
Okay, can you read Councillor Collins? Councillor Collins?
No, because I didn't capture it, and I just, may I make a comment as well? 7.3. The 1.3.2 public participation policy was presented to council and approved, and it's a policy on how planning meetings go. You have to call 3 times for this, and how that public consultation goes. Council approved the policy, and then they wanted it sent to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, which has no councillors on it. It's a citizen committee, for them to report back. That's not a whole lot of clear direction, so they looked at it, and what they did was provide best practices. Best practices for any meeting that we're doing now, we do this. We can't have an election in a hall unless it's accessible. Does it have to have the parking and all that? Or George, you can get in. You can get someone in. Emergency fire hall, you can get in. So to me, that's an accessible hall. So they've given you information on inclusivity. It came from a committee. You wanted to refer it to staff now, and I wasn't clear, Councillor Cotw, on what you wanted staff to do. Do you want staff to review the public participation policy? Or I just wasn't clear.
No,
so
I was taking what Doug said about sending it back to staff. If we already have accessibility guidelines or accessibility policy, then why do we need recommendations that we stick to certain things until it all comes that it got to be done?
The council doesn't have to take this recommendation and make it.
Okay, we're done.
And we didn't ask for a recommendation.
Exactly, yeah.
Report back.
So now it's gone to a committee and come back, and you want to refer to staff to do something, and I'm just trying to capture what it is you want staff to do with it and bring it back to you.
No, I understand it. I'm all for doing what's in the report, but I don't want to make it a policy that we only do what's in that report. Up to 2030, when the province says this gotta be done, and if they hold every county feet to the fire, then we have to consider what the province has said when we go to rent a hall. But until that date, until we get the opportunity in our communities to bring our halls up to date, and it's not only our halls, like I said, it's could be stages, it could be a lighthouse, it could be a museum, you know. And I'm glad that staff does think that halls and stuff are working on it. And we are. But when you put a policy in place, then all of a sudden we're looking at that policy and making decisions on that policy, and I don't like that recommendation.
What if we thank the committee for its work and indicated we would bear its report in mind during future consultations? Councillor Gunn moves, Deputy Warden seconds.
So what was the motion?
She's just finished composing.
Did it make sense?
Oh, yeah.
To thank the Accessibility Advisory Committee for its work. That's the committee you want to thank.
Yes. And for the committee to be assured that council will bear its recommendations in mind for future deliberations.
That's what you said, Councillor Gunn?
Oh, absolutely.
Second by Deputy Warden. Discussion. All in favor? Deputy Warden.
This motion here, the public participation policy, referred to the committee for a report back. It was intentionally very vague when I made that motion some months ago. It was very vague because I've had a few conversations with various members of this committee, and they are very good at what they are doing.
Yes.
They're very good, and all the report can come back to us. And so I'm very comfortable that the only thing they came back with was essentially to repeat there's already our accessibility policy. That's good. Because when this funded participation policy was brought to us, it was by our planners, when they had realized that we didn't have one as we were mandated to do under the Local Government Act, and it was admittedly a stopgap measure that they had thrown together so that we had one, and that our collective posteriors were covered. So that is why it was sent out. Why I made the motion to do that. So I'm ecstatic that what they threw together is of very high quality. It's just fantastic. I'm completely satisfied with everything we've done.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yes. 15 minutes.
May I ask Ms. Ryan just a question? Yeah. 2030. Any halls or whatever, venues, whatever, will they be able to grandfather themselves and say, well, we don't have to?
No.
My understanding, no. But if they were to apply to Nova Scotia, they would say that, no. There's plenty available right now. Community halls and everyone. And most of them are compliant. And I think it was mentioned that you can get in most community halls. We had meetings for our accessibility video and we had no problem finding access. And we didn't miss school. So I think you're the same way. When the planning department put out all those public planning meetings, I think all but one was accepted.
Thank you. page 174, Deputy Warden, please.
I move that the municipal council approve the agreement to use the NSCC, Annapolis Valley Campus, for an emergency shelter, coordination, comfort, and/or reception center as recommended to all Annapolis County remote councils by the Annapolis Remote Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Seconder? Councilor Gunn, discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Page 187, Warden.
That's awesome. That's what it is.
I move that municipal council give first reading of its intent to support the development agreement amendment application submitted by Harry Wilson as amended to amend the Macbeth's Grooming and Kennel Boarding Development Agreement by permitting the future expansion of the business on the property located at 10301 Highway 201, PID 05292347, and set a public hearing on this matter on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 11 a.m.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Revolve. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, Deputy Warden, as you look at page 188 and 189, 190, maybe with a bit of trepidation, I would suggest
That would be fine to read.
Pardon?
I believe that will be mine to read. I am the chair of the nominating committee. He gets to read it next week.
All right, and I say to you, Councilor LeBlanc, if you feel someone else should try Councilor Proud.
Try him. Put it on him.
Okay.
Are you up? Okay, so we are doing recommendations from the nominating committee.
There's no need to read what's in bold.
No.
So we flip the page.
We're on
188.
188. 188. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. I move that municipal council extend the citizen appointments to Timothy Atkins, Lester Burson, Christine Gray, Guard, Tina Hill, Brenda McDonald Lona, and John Smith to the Accessibility Advisory Committee to November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I move that municipal council waive the restriction regarding consecutive appointments and extend the citizen appointments to Lisette Gills and Phil Milo to the Lawrencetown Water Supply Area Advisory Committee to November 30th, 2024.
Thank you very much. Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I move that municipal council appoint Brian Reed as a citizen member to the Lawrencetown Water Supply Area Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I move that municipal council waive by resolution the restriction regarding consecutive appointments and extend the citizen appointments of Harold Baker and William Street to the Margarettsville Water Supply Area Advisory Committee to November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Connell. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
I move that municipal council appoint Eva Jane as a citizen member of the Margarettsville Water Supply Area Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Seconded by Councilor Connell. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried.
I move that municipal council appoint Eric Bifus as the citizen member of the audit committee for a 1-year term ending November 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I have a comment on the next motion. Mr. Hobart has respectfully requested that his name be removed as he's no longer able to commit to it.
Okay, so we'll move
That would
on.
be on for the Bridgetown Source Water Protection Advisory Committee waiving restriction.
Okay, so we'll move to the next one. I move that the councillor of District 7, seek, and what? Okay, I move that councillor of District 7 seek and encourage applications from citizens in the Bridgetown water supply area, and failing receipt of applications by January 6, 2023, that municipal council re-advertise to fill vacancy on the Bridgetown Source Water Protection Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hudson. Discussion? Deputy Warden?
Not that I object to picking on Councillor Hudson, but I understood the source water is in District 3, is it not? I'm curious.
Yes, it is. It is in District 3.
But
We don't have a district.
Both councilors, District 3 and District 7, sit on that Source Water Protection Advisory Committee. And since we do not have a council representative for District 3, we're asking council for District 7 to take on that duty.
yeah,
Big load.
you have the shoulders. You got it covered.
My apologies for not being better versed in the Bridgetown source water.
May I continue?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
I move that municipal council direct staff to advertise Bridgetown Source Water Protection Advisory Committee vacancies on the community electronic sign at the Bridgetown Sports Hall.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hudson. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
I move that councillors from District 4 and 5 seek and encourage applications for citizens in the Granville Ferry water supply area, and failing receipt of additional applications by January 6, 2023, that municipal council re-advertise to fulfill vacancies on the Granville Ferry Source Water Protection Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Bartow. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
I move that municipal council direct staff to advertise Granville Ferry Source Water Protection Advisory Committee vacancies on the community electronic sign at the Bridgetown Sports Hall.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Longmire. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I move that
Motion
municipal council appoint Elaine Burgeon, Jerry Allen Dick, and Anna Rock as citizen members of the Heritage Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Sheridan. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I move that municipal council appoint Gail Longmire as a citizen member of the Lake Katy Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, satisfying Section 28D of the policy for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Bartow. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
I move that councillors of District 6 and 8 seek and encourage applications from citizens in the Lake Katy water supply area, and failing receipt of additional applications by January 6, 2023, that municipal council re-advertise to fill vacancies on the Lake Katy Source Water Protection Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I move that municipal council direct staff to advertise Lake Katy Source Water Protection Advisory Committee vacancies on the community electronic sign at the Bridgetown Sports Hall.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
I move that municipal council waive by resolution the restriction regarding consecutive appointments and appoint Harold Baker as a citizen member of the Marcusville Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, satisfying Section 29D of the policy, for an additional 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Connell. Discussion. All in favor? Motion carried.
I move that the Council of District 2 seek and encourage applications from citizens in the Marcusville water supply area, and failing receipt of additional applications by January 6, 2023, that municipal council re-advertise to fill vacancies on the Marcusville Source Water Protection Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Connell. Discussion. All in favor? I saw 3 or 4 hands. I thought they were combing their hair. Okay, Councillor Connell.
I only comb my hair once a day.
And it wasn't me, but
It's smart. It says applications. It doesn't say how many more they need.
I'll have a package for you.
Okay.
Councillor Hudson, did you have something?
No.
Anybody else who wasn't moving? Thank you. Motion carried.
Okay. I move that municipal council direct staff to advertise the Marcusville Source Water Protection Advisory Committee vacancies on the community electronic sign at the Bridgetown Sports Hub.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Connell. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I move that municipal council waive by resolution the restriction regarding consecutive appointments and appoint Carol Hubble and Rachel Humphreys as citizen members on the Planning Advisory Committee for an additional 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Warden. Discussion. All in favor? Carried.
That's a half a word.
I move that municipal council appoint Raymond Edward Johnson Jr. as a citizen member of the Planning Advisory Committee for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I move that municipal council dissolve the ad hoc Cornwallis Park and Area Asset Review Committee.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
I move that municipal council approve the 2022 to 2024 councillor appointments as detailed in the following table for a 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion. Deputy Warden.
Rather awkwardly, I feel obliged to inform council the Lawrencetown Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, which is they can recommend to appoint me to. I've been to one meeting of this committee by invitation, and they indicated to me that they do not allow the public to have access. They do not advertise these meetings. They have the same obligations as the village as we are, so I think it's very important that I am there. But I do feel council should be aware of this before they appoint me to that committee.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Now, one more.
Before the discussion.
I'm sorry.
This is a little, got some close with the source of water for Morristown is there, but the Granville Ferry source water are locations and once the area councilors are there. What listed on the name, is that this?
Councillor LeBlanc.
You will receive one of these papers indicating all the other commitments you're on. These are committees of council and other committees like the source water that we like for example, Pratt, he's on East End Area Advisory, so am I, so is Fuzzy. All those are not listed on this list. These are committees of council or advisory boards are given from joint and regional agreements. The next list will be there. So yours, for example, what district are you? 4. And you, on yours, you would have Granville Ferry Source Water Protection Advisor. Whatever is in your district, you will be on that committee, which you have, it's your obligation as the council for the district. Have I explained it clearly?
I was aware of that. You indicated that Morristown Source Water Advisory Committee.
Not a committee.
It's not.
It's outside.
It's outside, that's why it's in red. Okay. Their village.
Deputy Clerk.
The list that you have before you to approve includes the committees that the nominating committee is obliged to make appointments to. The Granville Ferry Source Water Protection Advisory Committee that you would be on, Councilor Cotw. You're on that because you are.
I know that.
So I don't have to, or the committee does not have to appoint you to that. That's why that is not in this list of appointments.
Commission was, so I didn't pick up Morristown deed to the bills or something.
It's an inside
That
committee.
was noted in month's work. That was my only question. I was aware of everything else. So
Okay.
Moving on.
Thank you. Councillor Humphrey.
It's an inside.
Yes, perhaps I'm forgetting something I should already know. What's the composition of the CAO Review Committee? I only see 2 councillors listed here, knowing that the warden will be on that committee as well. But what is the composition of that? How many?
Warden, deputy warden, and 2 councillors.
Okay.
And we have Longmire and Jim Yellow? You? Yeah. Okay.
All right. Deputy Warden, page 191.
I think there was
One
one
more.
more from.
Me, one more.
Oh, you. I'm sorry.
Me, one more, and I'm done. I move that municipal council send letters of thanks to no longer serving citizen members of the following committees: Accessibility Advisory, Audit, Bridgetown Source Water Protection Advisory, Heritage Advisory, Lake Katy Source Water Protection Advisory, Lake Katy Water Supply Area Advisory, Margarettsville Source Water Protection Advisory, and Planning Advisory.
Seconded by
Right here.
Councillor Dunn. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's still there.
Still another one.
It's still there. This is yours next week. I move that municipal council waive by resolution the restriction regarding consecutive appointments and appoint Dane Berenger as a citizen member of the Police Advisory Board for an additional 2-year term ending November 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Sheridan. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Adopted.
I move that municipal council appoint Paula Montgomery Petit as a citizen member of the Police Advisory Board for a 2-year term ending November 30, 2024.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Longmire. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
okay. Deputy Warden.
I move that municipal council amend AN-1.4.9.1 medical assistance recruitment program policy as circulated 7-day notice.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cotw. Discussion. Deputy, you want discussion as well?
I was just going to mention the committee that was in place up until the new one is taking over consisted of Councillor Morrison, Councillor LeBlanc, Councillor Longmire, and myself. And I'd like to thank Deputy CAO Don Campbell for all of her assistance to the committee. If you look on page 194, you'll notice the changes that have been made. And I do know that the Deputy CAO is in touch with Karma Shakowski, and as well has reached out to get information from others, and that the concerns that were raised a month ago, I believe, are addressed in this, and I would move its adoption. I would second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. That is my committee. And I'm just wondering if there's any discussion concerning the punctuation on the first line of background.
I am sure that if we were to look at my punctuation grammar, then discussion.
Your document report, so we just saying that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And page 196, any comments or suggestions on the warden's report?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to do it in the
There's an
camera.
addition to the agenda in this section right now.
After we finish in addition to the agenda, we'll be going on camera, and before that, I want publicly to thank each of you, my colleagues on council and staff, for your patience and understanding as we look through 196 pages of the agenda.
Councillor Gunn had an addition.
Yes, Councillor Gunn has an addition, and it's a letter to
Department of Infrastructure Renewal.
Transportation Infrastructure Renewal.
I would like Annapolis County, and I'll put a motion together, and maybe I should give you some background first. The last couple of months, within the last couple of months, we've had some serious fatalities on the highway here in Annapolis County. Serious fatalities, people dead, 2 people dead, one last week. And what has happened is our local fire department has gone out and had to be the ones to shut down the highway, close the highway. And unfortunately, because they're the ones that close it, they're the one the duty falls to man the barricades, so to speak. So as, 10, 12 hours goes by and the RCMP are finally coming there to, investigate the scene as they do, scene fatality. Our local fire department is manning the barricades and keeping the traffic. I have a problem, and so do a lot of the firemen and a lot of the citizens of the county. It just happened again here last week with a young gentleman in Cotw who lost his life. And our fire department was stuck there all day manning the barricades. These are volunteer firefighters that we have that do this. And these guys are stuck from their jobs all day long. Now, I realize the Department of Infrastructure and Renewal cannot give the order to shut a highway in that case, but the fire department can under the Emergency Measures Act, right? Department of Highways can't, from what I've been told. So, once the fire department shuts down the highway, gives that order, there should be some cooperation from the Department of Infrastructure and Renewal as to setting barricades up and closing that highway down. Thus far, there's been none. As a matter of fact, in one accident, it was reported to me that there was, I don't know how many firemen there, but also as well, there was 10, was my report, 10 people from the Department of Infrastructure and Renewal standing around and watching, not doing anything. Now, I later found out that it was only 7, but that's all right. What we need, what I would like to do, and my motion would be that Annapolis County council send a letter to the Minister of Department of Infrastructure and Renewal, and I'm not quite sure who we might copy, but asking for their department to give some cooperation with our fire departments during fatalities on their highways. You can add to it, thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Longmire? Discussion? Councillor Cotw?
I think probably a copy of that should go to your MLA. It's provincial. There's, I think if you delve into it, I think that there is a policy in the province for the transportation to help out in those aspects. Not taken out for transportation. But there's staff that works from 7:30 to 4:30, and an accident happens after that. They're not obligated to go into work and work overtime. And they're as short-staffed as anyone else. And several years back, I was in big discussion with the fire services on them taking that role on in the beginning. And they wanted it. They trained their own selves. They went to the province and got the province to make a separate set of regulations for the fire departments for shutting down roads. Look for what you asked for. I'm not saying that the province shouldn't help, but that was well discussed years ago that this is exactly what would take place. And it's a shame because, like you said, volunteer people that got jobs as far as going to a house fire or shutting down a road for the initial start and help is big enough demand on volunteers. And especially with the fatality in the province, there's only, I think, 3 inspectors across the province, or 2, that do on-site analysis. So there's an accident in Cape Breton, and there's an accident in Yarmouth, and then there's a 3rd accident in Annapolis County. That accident site could be held closed for days, hours, for those 2 to finish up the ones that are on and then come here. So there is some joint effort there that needs to help. Cooperation.
Thank you. And as Councillor Gunn mentioned, the firefighters were on site a week ago at a tragic accident on Parker Mountain Road, and the firefighters were there for hours. And it was shortly into it that there was a house fire on the very same mountain, and those same volunteers would have to report there. So it is really complicated. So time to revisit on however decisions made on who manages the closures and such. Thanks.
Councillor Gunn, if this motion passes, we would look to you for an initial draft of the letter.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
We will now move, I'd like a motion to move in camera in accordance with section 22(2)C personnel matters and section 22(2)E contracts of the Municipal Government Act. Councillor Crowe?
So I'd like, or if I may first, Gordon, I'd like to thank and release staff, but if our head of HR can stay for this personnel matter, and if our clerk can stay.
Councillor Hudson?
Well, we could have 5 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Who moved it first?
We didn't get a move.
Yeah.
Councillor Crowe.
Yeah, Crowe.
Seconder, Councillor Hudson.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We are now back into our open session, and I would receive a motion for adjournment. Councillor Bartow, Councillor Sheridan, we are adjourned.